Check. 1 2 1 2.
Yes.
That sounds good, man. Sounds good. We back.
All right.
Shout out to everybody tuned in. You're watching the Enveonline podcast. You're rocking with your host, one half, son of a Jones.
And the other half, quiet, humble, angry one, Azar Johnson.
Cuz, what's good, man? We back, finally.
Yeah, we went through a lot. A lot of people don't know. They have no clue, but we definitely going through a lot, and we're finally here. It's episode 24 now, right?
24, man.
We're on 24, so that's big. You know what I'm saying? So getting it done.
2024.
Yep.
24, the Kobe year.
That's right. Facts.
Podcast where we talk about hip hop, sports, political events, current topics, just a whole bunch of stuff. And that's what we're going to get into today. We got a bunch of topics from hip hop. Got a lot of NFL topics. This might be a little NFL heavy today.
Yeah, a lot of sports heavy.
A lot of sports in general.
Yeah.
Before we get into the crux of the conversation,
okay.
We starting off the new year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm feeling good, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the little fade I got, man. Shout out to my barber. Okay. He hooked me up before the podcast. Shout out to my barber, Pito Finesse.
Got you.
At Galleria Barber Studios over on Fuller Road, man. That dude does a hell of a job cutting the hair, man. Just had to shout him out. Just get my little fade straight, starting the year off right. But before we get into the crux of the conversation, I want to start off a little different because you know how sometimes we jump straight into hip hop. We're very close to Black History Month, and I feel like the date surrounding this podcast, for the people that's going to see this when we put it out today for a timestamp, is January 17th. I'm going to talk about the importance of that day. But before today was January 15th, Martin Luther King Day. So on the eve of Black History Month, I just want to shout out those historical figures. First, starting off with Martin Luther King, because I think people bring him up and they only bring up certain aspects of his speech as a kumbaya moment. And now that I'm getting older, also, I have a parent born in the South during the 60s in Mississippi. So I internalized that, what went on. Even though that's not my generation, I still look back at that, hearing stories from my father and grandfather and so forth. So around his birthday, I always wanted to salute him and always say thank you for everything that he fought for, that he galvanized in the South and in this country. Because without him fighting and without him going through what they went through, stuff that we're going through today in 2024 might not be possible.
Facts.
And I know that's only a small gesture. Obviously, there's much more to say, but we don't have 2 hours to speak on just Martin Luther King Day. But definitely want to highlight him and not forget about him as time goes on, as we get older. Anything you want to say?
About his birthday, about the man, clearly he was a great man. A civil rights leader. I think that conversations that we're having now, I think it's somewhere his message got lost. I'm not trying to be a negative person, but I think that, we wouldn't be saying that they starting what we starting if it wasn't for him. I think that if you take some of his philosophies and apply it, we as a people should be stronger and better. If you need to do your history on him, he went through so much. I'm with you. Like, people take certain parts and try to use that as that was the foundation, which was one of his primary goals. But his primary goal was for his people to have the same equality and rights as other people, ethnicities and races in this country and all over the world. And I think that at some point it was a peaceful thing, but also at the other point he was no fool either. And I think he had a way of being aggressive without being violent. But I think it was also strategic, and he was a smart man, and he was strategic, and I think we could take a lot from him, other than I Have a Dream speech. It was so much more to him than I Have a Dream speech. So, I that's what I just want to emphasize.
And that's definitely what I was trying to convey when I said people take only parts of his speeches.
Yeah, no, I was piggybacking off of that, definitely, yeah.
Now, 2 days after Martin Luther King birthday, today the podcast, January 17th, is an important day for those of us in the diaspora that's in the African history or from the African continent. So for the people who may not know, January 17th is the day that a great leader by the name of Patrice Lumumba from the Congo, from the DRC, was assassinated. For the people who may not know, he was the prime minister of that country. If you see this on a playback, I'm rocking a shirt that has the silhouette of the African continent. And in the silhouette, these are the colors of the DRC flag. So that's what I'm representing, standing in solidarity with the people of the continent from the Congo. And I wanted to highlight that because you often hear about corrupt leaders or people doing corrupt things, no matter what race. But one of the reasons why Patrice gets so much respect and he gets talked into high regards is because he stood for a purpose in his short time being a prime minister. I think he was the prime minister of the Congo in 1960 for only a few months because the things he stood on was principle-based. We're breaking free from colonial rule. We're breaking free from Belgium. I want to nationalize our natural resources. The mining. I want the mining to benefit the country and the people. Doing that at that time, they were just declaring independence, and that caused an uproar. It got him out of his prime ministry seat a lot early. He only served for a few months. And unfortunately, during that time, I want to say less than a year later, like maybe, he got out of the prime ministry seat, I want to say in September, due to research. In January, he was executed.
Dang. So executed. Like he just was walking around and somebody just killed the shot.
Assassinated. So I'll give a brief history and I'm gonna do some bullet points. When I say assassinated, the West used his own people. Used his own people to turn on him.
Sounds like a common theme. But go ahead.
Belgium, United States, CIA used his own people. They captured them. And pretty much, I hate to be graphic on the podcast, they said burned them in acid, and the only thing that was left was a gold tooth.
Are you serious?
Yes. Very, very, very unfortunate. I don't want to get into the graphic details, but people who know about Patrice Lumumba, it was something. It was something. They did that, in my opinion, to send a message. Yeah. If you stand up for your people, this is what's going to happen to you, and we're going to use your own people to do it.
Yeah.
So aside from the assassination, I don't want to harp too much on assassination because he stood for so much. Like a couple bullet points that I'll just highlight briefly before we get into the crux of our conversation. Patrice, one of the things that he's well known for is the historic speech he gave in 1960 when the country was declaring their independence. And like I said before, when I first started, one thing that he harped on was that he wanted to push independence for the Congo. He wanted pretty much to talk about naturalizing the natural resources and so forth. Like that speech, if you look it up on YouTube, like it's everywhere, TikTok and so forth. It's a historic speech that he gave. He was also big on land reform policies, basically giving the land back that was taken before from Belgium, when they pretty much colonized the place and had them sign over rights and so forth. So, again, standing principle base got him out of his seat, and they pretty much took him out. Now, he'll be mentioned in the likes of, if you know who Stephen Biko is from South Africa, or Thomas Sankara.
Right.
He's up there with Thomas Sankara and Stephen Biko. And for that, I got to salute a man that stand on his principles, even though, unfortunately, he was taken out early. I actually got a book. So something I might start incorporating in the podcast, not just on this topic, but in general, because you read a lot and I read in my spare time. So every once in a while, we might do some literacy things, talk about books that we're reading. But if you want to know more on what's going on in the Congo presently from what happened before, I'll suggest a good book. So the book is called Lumumba's Africa Lost Leader. The author of the book is Leo. I can't pronounce his last name, but I'll say it's Zeilig. It's spelled Zeilig. And his book talks about the life and times of Patrice Lumumba, as well as what happened prior in Congo, before he was elected as a prime minister, during his time there, and after. And again, great book if you want to learn something about the African continent, and the country of the Congo and the life and times of Patrice Lumumba. So I wanted to highlight that. Now let's get into it.
Okay.
So we starting off with hip hop.
Okay.
The crux.
Yeah, definitely.
So in our previous podcast, we always talked about the 50-year celebration of hip hop. We covered Nas, we covered Busta Rhymes, and we covered the boot camp clip. We got a new one. Shout out to Long Island's own Erick Sermon and the Def Squad.
Facts.
So I'm gonna hand it over to my Brooklyn comrade because he told me, I don't know if you want me to say it, but one of his favorite people, he has a lot of favorite hip hop artists, but one of his favorite people is Erick Sermon.
Facts, yeah.
So I'm gonna hand it over to you so you can discuss the importance of Erick Sermon during that time period and how he developed the Def Squad and what the Def Squad meant.
Yeah, first, Erick Sermon, everybody knows him from the famous group EPMD. So, we all know the history of what EPMD did. They were one of the first groups signed to Def Jam. They did their thing on Def Jam, him and Parrish Smith. And then they had gotten to a certain peak level, and then something happened between those two, and they ended up splitting. I think this is when Erick Sermon, we all knew Erick Sermon from EPMD. He was already popular. But I think he stepped into being his own man once the split happened. Not that he had a choice, but he kind of was doing his thing. He created Def Squad. For those that don't know, everybody gives props to the Juice Crew. Because I think, when you hear hip-hop, everybody thinks everybody that had a crew, nobody had a crew like the Juice Crew. Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane, MC Shan, Roxanne Shante, everybody in the crew could rhyme. And then you had Wu-Tang. There was a crew before them that was in the middle of that was by the name of the Hit Squad. So for people that don't know, that was EPMD, Redman, Das Effects, K-Solo. They was kind of rocking out, doing their thing. Long story short, they kind of were like a Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? I know I talked about Boot Camp Click, but they were Wu-Tang. Just everybody in Das Effects was, for their rhymes, knowing that nobody can rhyme like them. EPMD being the pioneers and trendsetters that they were. Then you had K-Solo, who was Illmatic, and you had Redman, you know what I'm saying? That was from Jersey, and he could spit.
So I wanted not to interrupt you. So you got Long Island, you got Brooklyn, a couple of them cats from Brooklyn.
Daz was from Brooklyn.
And then you got New Jersey.
Yeah.
Do you think that made them more unique, that they didn't come from the same borough or just one region, that they were pulling the fan base from Long Island, which I lived in. I lived out in Suffolk County, so I know. Yeah. And then various parts of New York City, and then a whole nother state.
Yeah. It made them unique because none of them had the same rhyme style, And I think Erick Sermon brought that when we went to the Def Squad. When Erick Sermon left, you got to remember he didn't have, because Parrish Smith was the businessman. Erick Sermon was more the guy that did the beats and did the rhymes and everything like that. So for him, it was kind of ill. But he took a chance, and he came, and then him and Redman left. Like, Redman went with Erick. When the Hit Squad split, Redman went with Erick, but Das Effects stayed with Parrish. I don't know what happened to K-Solo. To this day, I don't know that story. I don't know what happened with him.
Then didn't somebody throw him off the stage?
I think
or was that somebody else?
No, that's PM Dawn, man.
Oh, man. My bad, K-Solo. Don't get at me.
I think K-Solo, but he did get into a situation with DMX. DMX claims that K-Solo stole his rhymes.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So I don't know that whole story. I just don't know what happened to him after. He never came back out once the Hit Squad split. But long story short, Erick left. I think when he tells the story, he says that he went to Atlanta. And he was kind of developing himself.
Who?
Erick Sermon.
Oh, the detective said he went to Atlanta after that situation. Because I know what you're talking about, but hey, I'm just throwing that in there.
Okay.
They said by the time they tried to find Erick, he was already in Atlanta.
Buddy. He said, if you go back and listen to that Math Hoffa interview, he talked about it. He said that things were for people that are fans. They said that the Headbanger video shoot, it was kind of a little aggressive. Like it was about to pop off because Parrish had his own people. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm not gonna get into that. Long story short, when he separated from them, he ended up creating the Def Squad. and he did, what was that album? It was his first album, solo album on Def Jam. And there was this guy by the name of Keith Murray that came on there, which was an integral part of it because at that time, if I remember correctly, Keith Murray was part of the Bring Back the East Coast movement. He was part of that movement with the most beautifulest thing in this world. That's what put him on the map.
Can you talk about how classic that song was? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yo, no. It was a classic joint. It was probably one of the illest joints known. And it was classic and it was dope. And it's like you know how Biggie has Juicy and
Boot Camp. His Juicy.
Boot Camp, yeah. Boot Camp had Black Moon had Who Got the Props and Into the How Many MCs. That Keith Murray, that's his joint. That's what solidified Keith Murray. But Erick Sermon had really kind of stepped out, and I think all his albums, man, like No Pressure. There was a second album. The titles I'm forgetting, but he had the joint. Def
Squad or Erick Sermon?
Erick Sermon.
Okay.
Def Squad, Erick Sermon. Erick Sermon is Def Squad. So the No Pressure, the compilation albums he dropped. When he started Def Squad, he had Redman, Little Jamal, Keith Murray, and Redman. And I think all of them succeeded, with the exception of Little Jamal. He dropped one album, and I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what went left. Someone left because he kind of disappeared after a compilation album. But long story short,
Hurricane G
was rocking, but she would kind of show, like she would show up and come, like she wasn't really, I wasn't really hearing her on a lot of tracks. Like she was just around. So Redman definitely held it down. I think for Erick Sermon, where people don't give him credibility for is his production. He's a very good producer. A lot of people don't know that when Red and Method Man got together, they didn't see that he was the guy, like he was the one that's making the majority of the beats. The How High, that was Erick Sermon. That wasn't RZA. But people kept giving it to RZA because they just assumed when they heard the beat, it was RZA. That was Erick Sermon.
I did too. I ain't gonna lie to you.
That's Erick Sermon doing that. So Erick Sermon was behind a lot of that. And, behind their album, he also was behind a lot of Redman's albums. He held the East Coast down when the West Coast was starting to blow up at one point. The West Coast was blowing, and Erick Sermon was kind of releasing material to keep us relevant.
Was that right in the middle of when Doggy Style dropped?
Yeah.
He had it.
Yeah, they was coming, and Erick Sermon was dropping around that time. He produced our R&B albums. He had dropped Dave Hollister on there, Alfonso Hunter. Who else he dropped, man? He dropped his compilations, Little Jamal, all of Redman's albums, Keith Murray's albums. He did the Def Squad on Def Jam. The Def Squad album, that was big because that was when Def Jam was trying to redo their stock to make Def Jam a bigger movement. And that was big because I remember he went on tour with DMX and Onyx. And El Nino was really big. It really helped him because I'm trying to think about the timeline. It just seems like Erick Sermon was always on point. And him and Parrish got back together for the sake of hip hop. They did it. And everything kind of worked out better. They did. I remember that was the year when all those albums were coming out with Brand Nubian and Lauryn Hill and all of them.
97, 98.
Yeah. I think My Squad Stays on Point. Like, da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun, that's the joint. I think that was around that time. But long story short, they came back. They were kind of putting out good music. Erick Sermon's a staple. He's like Buster. He's just a staple. He's always around. He's always releasing dope music. I just don't think he gets the credibility they should.
Now, I was just about to go into that because when we talk about staples of hip hop that came out during that time, especially producers, so I'll throw a name out like Timberland. Timberland started around that time from the South.
Yeah,
he was producing Missy Elliott and Genuine and all them before we knew. But for some reason, he found a way to remain relevant in the 2000s, 2010. What do you think happened with Erick Sermon? Not saying he isn't working. I'm not saying he isn't producing behind the scenes. But we don't hear Erick Sermon named today in the likes of a Timberland who started in the 90s as a producer. Now, I'm not saying for real hip-hop heads like me and you, but I'm talking about for the general public, like kind of don't hear his name on production credits and songs and so forth.
I think he is, but I think the thing that hurts him or hurts Def Squad, because that's him too. I remember when Keith Murray was at his peak, and this is one of the elements I do remember. One, he never stepped up in the front when Red and Meth was coming. he kind of, I don't want to speak for him, but it kind of seemed like he stayed in the background. He was doing all that production. Same thing with Dave Hollis's album. He's back in the background, but it's coming out through Def Squad. Same thing with Redman's albums. It's coming out through Def Squad, but Erick don't seem to be up in the front and be up in the videos. So did you want to say something?
I just wanted, because I know the fans is going to kill me for this. Please forgive me. He was featured on Nas's album with a dope verse with him and Eminem.
Right.
It was an ill, and that was recently. So again, I'm saying for real hip hop heads, like when I heard that verse with him and Eminem, they destroyed that track. And it was something, that might have been one of the illest verses I heard from Erick Sermon and Eminem in like a while. So I just want to give him that credit and that respect. Go ahead.
No. And then, you got, he's releasing all this content and all this material and these artists. Keith Murray's albums, he's not really, running around doing everything he's doing. He's kind of just being in the background and he's creating Def Squad. But once him and Parrish got back together, even then he was still kind of pushing other artists and helping them. There was a lot going on. And he had, at one point, I don't know, I'm not going to give everything away because I think when we do ever interview him, I'm going to put it in existence. I'm going to ask him about certain things. It's like nobody's asking him. Mav Hoffa even admitted, he's like, yo, you don't do too much. We can't put it all in this interview. But long story short, he had a lot of situations and it all looked great. And for whatever reason, it seemed like he just fell back. So I don't think like with, as with Wu-Tang, it didn't matter when Ghost and Ray was on Loud Records. It didn't matter when Ghostface would release albums on Epic and Shark or Def Jam. It didn't matter when GZA was on Geffen and all them. You knew RZA was there or he was in the background or you seen him in the videos. Where Erick, it wasn't always that. You ain't see him in the Red and Meth videos. You ain't see him in the Keith Murray videos. You didn't see him in the Little Jamal videos. You didn't see him a lot. So my whole thing is just like, yo, it can't really, he kind of just, I guess he's from the school of like, yo, I know I'm nice. I know who I am. And as long as you see the Def Squad moniker, I'm good. That's kind of what I see it as. But I think he never gets the recognition. He's an integral part. And remember, he's part of that movement when Rakim and, Eric B. Rakim, Biz Markie, Shane, Big Daddy Kane, Shane. He's part of all that era. He's part of like the real 50 Cent. He's part of that. He knows all that. So he was around for that. So I think with him, it's not really, I think as long as he gets credibility from his peers, but as far as like being that part of that history, I don't feel like he gets the respect from that history. You know what I'm saying?
Only thing that I wish he didn't drop the ball on, he said in an interview that he was supposed to be a main producer on Illmatic for Nas.
Really?
But he just gave him like some C-list beats. That's from him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I'm like, you kind of missed the boat with that one. I got to check the production credits. I don't know if he produced the song, but in the interview, he says he almost produced Illmatic for Nas, but he just threw him some garbage beats.
Why did he do that? Damn.
I don't know, but you kind of missed the boat with that one, man.
He said, and he also made it clear, like he had 50 Cent. He was kind of around for that 50 Cent situation. And I forgot, he said the deal fell through, but he said it wasn't because of Murder, Inc. I'm not going to say no names. Can I make a point? There was a situation, and I know this from because I knew people that were in labels. I remember when 50 Cent got shot, and because of Supreme and the Murder, Inc., as much as people want to try to play Murder, Inc. right now and be like, oh, they ain't who they is, a lot of people were scared. They didn't want that situation because they knew the minute they sit next to 50 Cent and align themselves, they knew Murder Inc. and them was going to be on them. So I just want to say that, Trackmasters, let me say this without saying what I was being offensive. I hear a lot of people on records taking Italian names, mafia names, street name, gangster names, but the minute a situation comes up, y'all want to be a business person and be like, oh my God, we just can't be affiliated with that. That's just all I'm going to say. Erick Sermon clearly was not that individual when it came to 50 Cent. And he made it very clear, I run with dudes too, and we not worried about any of that situation. That's just all I'm going to say about that.
Now, you said that deal kind of fell through. Did him and 50 Cent ever work throughout the years?
I think he said, well, before that, he said they did. I think something on Power Over Dollar, he said he was working on it. But, he said, but for even once that fell through, he wanted to roll with 50. Like, they was going to try to do something. And this is when the whole thing was starting to get real hot and heavy with Premium. And you said, I don't care what that's going on. We ain't not scared of them, man. You know,
that's Long Island for you. Stand up strong Island, man.
I will say this, though. I'll say this. There were other people that be yelling names and act tough, and they're still running around with their companies, throwing up signs, playing. But when it came down to it, you ain't want no parts of that situation. So it just makes me laugh. I see now why, and I'm not trying to sidetrack, but just from that situation, now you see why 50 ain't really scared of nobody in this. He be saying, he like, yo, you a clown, man. You be talking all that street stuff, and look what you doing.
It's the headphones. Don't get too close to the mic.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just what it is. So, you know, I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be, man. You know, but Erick Sermon he's definitely a staple in the industry. And I don't think, you know, you always talk about gatekeepers. He needs to be a gatekeeper. Like, he needs to like hear the young and upcoming kids. You know how K-Slay, you always went to K-Slay to hear like who was new and the dudes in the streets that was hot, that needed credibility. Even if they had a whack beat, you kind of heard it. You know what it was coming, or they deserved to be heard. Erick Sermon is kind of that. That's who he is. Like if Erick Sermon, let me put it to you this way. Back then, and even now, if he releases something, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
If he put together a compilation right now with some of the illest MCs that had no names right now, I would buy it and listen to it. That's just how ill he is. I just
said that album, that track on Nas's album with Eminem was bananas. He was spitting, and I was like, "Yo, E going in. Mm-hmm. This is crazy."
Yeah,
he's matching Eminem's energy.
Facts.
He's matching Nas's energy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I haven't heard this in a while, man.
Yeah.
Like you said, I wish he would drop something. I wish he would keep going.
Yeah. I think he dropped the album because, you know, I don't do the downloads. I try. I try as much as I can. I think he dropped the album, I want to say a year and a half ago. Because I heard him on Roxanne Shantae's radio show, and his song was banging, but I didn't hear anything else. You know, today's era, they don't really do the videos and all that. So I heard the joint, but I didn't know if it was an album or not, but it was tough. He was talking about going to Harlem and jumping out the car on 125. It was a dope storyline, the way he was telling the story.
So I got a question, and then we're going to go back to Death Squad, because I don't want to leave them out and just talk about Erick Sermon. So the question, I showed you a clip that was on Pete Rock's Instagram, and I want you to go in on this. The clip had Erick Sermon, and he was talking about how today's hip-hop, we can't really call it that because the era he came from, the music and the artists were evolving from one to another.
Right.
And he was bringing up examples. He said Wu-Tang turned into this, turned into that, turned into that. Right. So can you talk about the evolution of hip-hop from his era to present-day artists? And do you see hip-hop evolving in the correct manner?
It might now, because people are speaking up. But you got to remember when Erick Sermon came, it was EPMD, and then there was the Hit Squad. And then from the Hit Squad, you had Redman and Keith Murray, and Redman and Method Man. And you see how big Redman got when they went on a Hard Knock Life tour and all that other stuff. And then when you look at it and you keep going, Dave Hollister came through Erick Sermon. Alfonso Hunter, oh my God, there's somebody else I'm missing here. Lil Jamal, he had the potential to be big. Like I said, I don't know what happened with that situation, but that was bad. Anyway, long story short, you know, when he came, you got to remember when he was around, all this was going on. Like he said, yo, Ludacris was around when he was in Atlanta. He said he been seeing who he was gonna be. So my whole thing is just like at the end of the day, Erick Sermon's been around to see how hip hop is transcended. He's still relevant to this day. So if he's looking at it and he's saying that it's bad, how we spoke about this before, he's seen how it's transcended. Come on, man, that drill rap is like the most garbage thing I've ever heard in my life. It don't even sound like they trying. Mm-hmm. It's like, yo, my son wouldn't even listen to that. A dog wouldn't even listen to that. You play that, dog walk right back out the room. Like, yo, you got to turn that off. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? So Erick Sermon has seen, when he was out, Roxanne Shantae was popping. When he was young, right? So and when he was hot and with the Def Squad, Foxy and Kim was there, Rod Digger was there, Lauryn Hill was there, Bahamadia, for people that don't know who that is. So he's seen the Illmatic, you know, and his DJ was DJ Scratch. You know, for people that don't know, you know, he's one of the illest DJs alive.
You listen to him.
And if
today.
you want to, yeah, exactly. And if you know, Scratch, I love your show, man. Every time
Great
me and my
show.
cousin be on tour,
Going to New York
covering
City.
the games, wherever we going to Connecticut, New York, whatever, we
Hit
put
that
you on,
satellite
right?
radio.
Yep, satellite radio. So point I'm making is, and if you to kind of give you an idea about Scratch, go listen to Flip Mode's beats. That's who's doing them, DJ Scratch. But that's just Erick Sermon is the epitome. He knows. He knows. So when he's saying like, yo, this ain't hip hop, what we doing, he ain't lying. He's telling the truth.
So, talking about Erick Sermon being a gatekeeper, knowing talent, having an ear for talent, you named all those acts he had. One of the, I don't want to say one of the biggest, but one of the main ones would be Redman.
Correct.
No disrespect to Keith Murray, because they're all equally talented.
Right.
But Redman appeared on EPMD's early album in the 90s. So he's been out for 30 some odd years.
Right.
Can you talk about how important that find was? Because at that time you had New York City popping off, you had the boroughs, you had Long Island, but Redman's from Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Tretch from Naughty by Nature, you had Queen Latifah from
Lords of the Underground.
Lords of the Underground, and Queen Latifah from Newark. I want to say she's from Newark,
Yeah.
but from Jersey in
yeah,
general.
Yeah, she's from,
And comes a young Redman. Can you talk about how important that was to bringing him out from Jersey and developing him at that time?
He was an Illmatic dude, man, because he had What the Album. And I remember when it like Time for Some Action, I think was his first joint. But he was just, I mean, when you hear, go listen to What the Album. Sometimes, like, I think we overlook that. I'm not saying it's 5 mics, but it's a classic masterpiece. And I think when you go back and listen to it, like, and even when you look at the videos and see, like, I mean, there was nobody from Jersey spitting like Redman. Like, Tretch was...
This is why I brought that out.
The Lords of the Underground was Illmatic, but on a commercial level, even without trying to be commercial, Redman was that guy. Like, the Lords of the Underground was dope. They was super dope. And they just didn't get the recognition they should have. They was on a label that wasn't really, they wasn't on a Def Jam label. Redman got on Def Jam.
Put you on the spot in a minute.
His first out joint was on Def Jam. So for Def Jam to take that chance, that's a big deal. But he showed, like, I mean, his lyrical insight. I mean, he you know, go listen to Tonight's the Night. I mean, just listen to it. Just listen to what he's saying in there. You know what I mean? So by the time there's a Dark Side, which was, to me, that was okay. It was okay. I think there was joints on there, but it could have been better. But go listen to What the Album. You're going to be like, oh, my God. And no wonder he was going on tour. With him and Daz and Solo on EPMD? My God,
Styles,
man.
he was blending in and on that.
Yeah.
The singles that came off that album you named in 94 that you said. But here comes 1996, Muddy Waters.
Yeah, it was classic.
I told you I was listening to an old interview from Sean Price, who's rest in peace. He said he listens to Muddy Waters, and that's what he was holding his material up against when it was time for him to make an album.
Yeah.
So you got somebody underground from Brooklyn giving homage to Redman, saying, this is who I pit my work against.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how concrete that album was and what Redman did, as well as Erick Sermon on the production?
Yeah. Muddy Waters. Was Muddy Waters? I don't even think Muddy Waters was the one he went on tour with Meth with. I don't think that was the one. Because it was like Whatever Man. Pick It Up.
He just started messing with, I don't want to say just started messing with Method Man.
Yeah, but you started seeing him around. Yeah, you started seeing him
also
around.
Pac.
Yeah.
At the time he was working with Pac as well.
Yeah, and he and Redman was just, that album was just coming out. I think if I'm not mistaken, that Muddy Waters album was just coming out album. There's a Dark Side was okay. It just is what we expected because it was a Redman album, Def Squad, Def Jam. So he got the recognition, but the album wasn't that great. The Muddy Waters, that was his coming out party. That was, everybody was playing that Muddy Waters album. I don't care who you was. I don't care where you was at, that Muddy Waters album. He was doing shows all over the place with that album. All over. His not to mention the mixtapes. That's another thing with Erick Sermon, and that's Def Squad too. They were always on mixtapes. They were everywhere on mixtapes. And I'm not talking about your Gangsta Grills, DJ Drama. I'm talking about
them cassette
tapes with Clue, MV, Doo-Wop, DJ SNS, there's a few of the DJs. I can't think of them right now. But all the DJs, Erick Sermon and Redman was all on those mixtapes. They were all on Tony Touches. They were all on there. Redman was the type of dude, he could have a hit record, but he could be on Tony Touch's 50 MCs. For people that don't know, I'm probably giving away my age here, but Tony Touch, who's an Illmatic DJ, used to release 50 MCs. So he used to have 50 MCs just rhyming over beats, and it was crazy.
Kind of like what K-Slade's doing.
Yeah, but you had to be an Illmatic artist. Like you couldn't, like Tony Touch was, and this is no shot, he wasn't going to have a little Uzi Vert on 50 MCs. Tony Touch was never going to do that. That was never going to happen. I'm just saying what I'm saying. They can feel however they want to feel. I'm just telling you, he was never going to have a little Uzi on there. Just wasn't going to happen. Like you had to be, Redman, in other words, as much as he had commercial success, he was still one of those guys that was going to be in a cypher just doing what he was going to do. That's just how ill he was. That's why he was on the Hard Knock Life tour. That's exactly why.
Oh, another part that I said I didn't want to skip over him, but we got to highlight Keith Murray.
Yeah, who I think it's sad, even what I'm hearing, to say what Keith Murray, he was coming. I think he could have been up there with Redman. He got in trouble when he got locked up. And I think his album Enigma was the last album before he got locked up.
Okay.
After he got locked up, he was never right. His career never went straight after that. Because he did the Most Beautifulest Thing in This World album. There was a second album, I forgot what that was, and that took off. And then his third album, which was Enigma, he was coming. And this is, I think, when he was about to just go overboard. He was about to just do what he did. He had a Legion of Doom too. They was some Illmatic rap cats. But Keith, once he got locked up, man, his career never took back off again. Like they did Death Squad El Nino, but he never like kind of like when he tried to drop an album. I think he dropped it on Koch. Yeah. And we all know they do one single and then you never hear the album again. So I heard the album. It wasn't bad. It was dope. But it's not like before. Oh, he did the Def Jam album. He did do the Def Jam album. That's my mistake. I'm thinking about it right now. The Def Jam album, it got recognition. But, now you're asking him to pick up where he left off at. Because he left Jive off after that Enigma album. I think he did the Def Squad El Nino. Then he did his album with the Redman, the single on Redman. Yeah, you know it. I forgot the name. And it was Candy Bar, and Keith was all over the place. He was another one. He just, and it's crazy because his flow is not commercially. You can't sell that. So for him to spit the way he spit, and was able to adjust and adapt to anything, and it still shined on whatever track it was, it just amazed me. But it was after I think, even though the El Nino project did great. Even though the Def Jam album did great, I don't know behind the scenes what happened. We've heard so many things, but there was clearly an element of something that happened that derailed his career. Because he never was right after that, and he had all the potential to be just where Redman was at. That's how Illmatic Keith Murray was. Little Jamal was also part of the original Death Squad, and I till this day don't know what happened with him. I couldn't tell you where he's at, what he's doing, nothing. I don't.
So bringing up the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, what would you say Def Squad and Erick Sermon, what would you say that legacy would be?
I'm going to start with this. I would say Hit Squad is one of the top 5 groups of all time. And I want to see anybody contest that. And
hold on.
Yeah.
So you said Hit Squad is one of the top 5 groups in hip-hop of all time.
Yep. EPMD, Daz Effects, Redman, K Solo. Yeah. Yep. They went on tour with their own crew. I'm going to say that again. They went on tour with their own crew. Okay? This is Redman, Keith Murray.
Yep.
Redman, EPMD, Daz Effects, and K Solo. That's it. That was the crew. They did shows and went on tour. That was just them. So hear what I'm saying to you. top 5 groups of all time. When you hear about Wu-Tang, who's a group? Outkast. Give me another group.
Junior Mafia.
Boot Camp Click. But Boot Camp Click was a crew, but they was like they all had their individual groups in the crew. But when I talk about groups or crews, they're top 5 all time. I don't think people understand how trendsetting they was. And then what was sad is when they broke off from each other. Had that never happened, I can assure you they're talked about as top 5 groups of all time. I'll stand that up against
over
anybody.
Young Money, over
yes,
Rockefeller.
Come on, man. Let me put it. Let me also say this, and I'm not making excuses. If you look at their era, okay, when Rockefeller came out, they had Jay, right?
Yeah.
And Jay had, he didn't do well until he went to Def Jam. And then, he had Bleak and Beanie Siegel and all them. But when I'm talking about, you go back and and for hip hop heads that really do the research, when you listen to Das Effects, go look at Das Effects. Is all listen on their first 3-4 albums. They listen to the beats, the DJs.
Crazy.
You think DJ Irv Gotti could beat DJ Scratch? You crazy? Scratch will scratch his ass up off the stage. He won't make it. And that's no shot to Irv. I know Irv has an Illmatic background being Rockefeller and on the stage. But if it comes down to it, they had the Illmatic DJ, the illest DJ, that people still use for their beats. And he's got you jamming to your favorite artist. His beats are jamming to your favorite artist. You just don't know it. Same thing with Erick Sermon. So hear what I'm saying. The Hit Squad is a top 5 group of all time. They're in the top 5. I'm going to leave that there. When you talk about Def Squad, I would say that's a good question. With their resume, if we're putting them up against Outkast and them, I don't think they're in that top 5.
Okay.
I think they're somewhere down further. I don't know, in the bottom 5. I'm not sure. It depends on because I'm going blank right now with the crews. But when you think about Def Squad, people keep forgetting it's not just Erick Sermon. It was Keith Murray. And it was, but what hurts them, I guess if you want to say if there's rankings, if we're doing like a college football ranking, what puts them down a little further down out of the top 10, but still in playoff contention, let me put in sports terms, is that it's the consistency.
All right.
So, Erick held us down through the West Coast time. West Coast is dominating. He's responsible for Redman, who's one of the illest cats ever in history. Not only in Jersey, just in hip-hop, period.
Hip-hop history.
Right. And then you had Keith Murray. You had Dave Hollister come through, and you produced Redman and Method Man's album, and not including all the other stuff you've done that I don't even know about. So, yes, you are one of those. You're a playoff team. You may not be in the top 10, but you're in that wild card group.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, here you go again, man. I'm gonna leave. Eric, don't die. I'm not putting you there. So what I'm saying is that they're in that circle, but they're not in the top rank.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? But when you talk about his squad, top 5 groups all time. Top 5 group.
That's respect, man.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to add to this?
I just want to say with Erick Sermon, because Parrish too, and give props to Parrish Smith that nobody gives props to him. I don't think that's not nobody gets props to him, but I just don't think they understand his contribution. And we'll have that conversation the other day. EPMD was a trend-setting group. That's what makes the Hit Squad top 5. And then you have the other groups that was with Das Effects, Redman, K Solo. That was just, you can't. There's no words for it. Das Effects style. That's hard to sell. And not to mention with the fatigues and the dreads and everything and the trend-setting styles that they were trend-setting. EPMD with the drug dealer type trend-setting styles with the gold chains and the fisherman hats. Nobody was doing that. Yayo's the only one that still rock. Nobody knows. That's why Erick Sermon.
Hold on.
Wait, can I say something?
Okay, go ahead.
That's why Erick Sermon wasn't scared of that situation.
But
when you rolling with the real 50 Cent and all them and you round them and all that situation in the 80s when there's no cameras and you got to be who you say you are, you really ain't scared of nothing. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about what you just said briefly.
Yeah.
That style that they was bringing from Long Island. You know who else was rolling like that?
Who?
Erick B. and Rakim.
Yes. Yeah.
They from that cloth.
Yes.
And I'll just leave that there.
Facts.
salute to Erick Sermon, Parrish Smith, the Def Squad, and the Hit Squad.
Yeah.
A staple in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Erick Sermon continues to put out guest appearances, more music. Same thing with Redman. Maybe we get some dope Keith Murray stuff.
Mm-hmm. I hope so one day. I don't know what his situation is, but he was one of my favorite artists. He's like one of me personally, my top 5 favorite artists. Top 5. You know, anything he released, I bought it.
And since I lived in Long Island for 10 years, man, salute to Long Island, because I don't think we get a lot of credit, even though there's some legendary MCs from Long Island.
Yeah.
Now let's go to our next genre. We're going to start off sports.
We can do that. Definitely. Yeah,
all right,
whatever
so
you want to do.
We're going to start off in college first.
Oh, Lord.
And not just any college.
Oh,
we're going to start off with HBCU talk. You want to do HBCU talk?
We can do HBCU talk.
So I'm alive to alley-oop, and I just want you to go and grab it like Sean Kemp, slam it down like the Rain Man.
Before the wait.
Before the wait. So we were talking prior, leading up to this podcast, and you was like, yo, D, we got to talk about it, man. The light is starting to dim on the Meek and the SWAC on the HBCU schools and football. I was like, hey, what you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, D, I don't think you understand, man. Since Deion left, and then now we got news a few weeks ago that the coach from FAMU left to be a position coach at Duke. Again, the head coach from FAMU went to go be a position coach at Duke.
And wasn't it the running backs coach?
A running back coach for Duke.
Jesus.
So I want you to go in to explain why you think the lights is starting to dim a little bit on the HBCU schools and the conferences, the Meek and the SWAC.
Well, the Celebration Bowl happened, and I kind of felt, and maybe it's just me, I didn't feel like there was the promotion. There wasn't a promotion. So Howard made it this year. Howard made it this year in Florida and made it this year.
Hit a pin in Howard, because we're going to talk about Howard too during this conversation.
That was Howard, what you sent me?
Yep, that was Howard University.
I wasn't sure it was Denver. No, yeah, no, if it was Hampton, we would have definitely known sooner. So Howard went. It was a great game. It was a good game. I watched it, recorded it, watched it. I just feel like it's not getting any recognition. And it didn't seem like it was the same thing as when Deion was involved. Like when the Celebration Bowl popped off, I felt like everybody was tuning in. I was watching. You would see stuff on social media. You would see everything everywhere. And the minute he left, I saw everything. I started seeing like and I purposely was waiting to see what was gonna happen. I ain't say nothing. I want to say before I start, shouts out to HBCU Game Day. I don't have all the names. I promise we will shout you out at another time. Shouts out to those brothers and sisters over there, because they're the only ones that push and promote HBCU sports. Every week when I wanted to know something about the SWAC and the Meek, I could look at their breakdown,
profiles,
of everything on the YouTube, and thank God for them and salute to them and everything they do. That's one. Let me say that. When it came to the Celebration Bowl, I didn't feel like we were having the same conversations, right? Deion went down there. Let's have this quick conversation part about Deion. Deion goes down to Jackson State, and I'm going to put this all together. He goes down to Jackson State. He gets everybody's attention. It took him a while, but it took him like 2 years, and 1 or 2 years, and he got him Jackson State up to the top. He got the light shined. Once he got the light shined, he wanted to turn the lights on, and he wanted to make it bigger than what it is. I think what Deion did, in a way, without going to a whole spill, he took the mirror, went like this, and said, "Here,
I need you guys to look and face this."
Yeah. And what that was in AKA is, let's do an audit to see where the money's going. Everything shut down after that. You notice after that? He talked about that on Earn Your Leisure's podcast. He said, I wanted to do an audit, and they were kind of fighting me. He didn't really want to get into the whole situation, but he basically said that they were kind of moving slow feet. So basically what he's trying to do is save face. Now let me go here on the other end of this. I hear Dr. Umar Johnson, and not the fact that he's attacking him. He's just giving his perspective, because people are asking Dr. Umar Johnson. He's not going out his way to talk about it. But the thing is when he asks, he says, well, Deion sold, and this and this and this. And I hear his points. I really do. Can I ask you something? Where's your passion for winning before Deion got there? Why wasn't we having these attentions? I don't remember the SWAC championship game.
HBCU Twitter would say they was always there, Ed.
No, they wasn't. We watch college football.
You talking about two individuals who cover HBCU schools in our conference.
Yeah.
Who travels to games.
Yes.
I was out in the monsoon.
I know.
I was out in the
To
monsoon.
this day, I regret that.
When Monmouth from New Jersey played Hampton. And that ain't the first time we traveled. We traveled for the last few years on that. But go ahead.
Yeah. So to kind of give it what we saying, this is the one question I would ask Dr. Umar Johnson and anybody that's contesting what we're saying or what I'm saying, right? It has been years, okay? I'm not gonna give my age away, but I was born in the 70s, right? I'm trying to understand how I know about Alabama. I know about any major school in Division I. I know about all of them, right? I never heard about how do you not have an HBCU up in the Division I? Who can explain that? How are you a SWAC conference president or a MEAC conference president or the guy at Tennessee State or anybody? And let me tell you, I'm not going to throw nobody under the bus, but there was reports because Hampton in North Carolina A&T, they wanted out. I'm telling you right now, I know for a fact, they wanted out. They didn't want to be in the MEAC no more. They didn't want to be there because they knew that you're going to stagnate. We're looking to move up.
And they came right into the CAA conference.
Right.
Go ahead.
So even if, we the playoffs and everything Albany made this year, how come I've never seen them other than this past year? I've never seen an HBCU in there. Please help me understand how there's no way. Every year, you know what bothers me? They say, well, it's because, we talked about this in previous podcasts. They're going to at some point make a super conference. It's the big schools. It's Michigan. Washington showed up, but they couldn't hold the line. But let me just give a prime example. Yeah, Michigan, Alabama. Who's the fourth school? Michigan played Alabama. Washington played, I forgot who Washington played. Whoever they played. At the end of the day, Washington, they're in the Pac-12 in a big conference, right? So as long as they play tough and play hard and they play right and they go undefeated, at some point they're going to get the recognition. Kids are always going to go to that school because they're being shown on TV. How did the MEAC and the SWAC sit there and be comfortable for all these years? All these years. And then you're wondering why you can't get the Division I kids. They don't see you. They don't know you. We talked about this before. They don't know you. So I don't understand. Every time there's a big championship game, Michigan's on. Alabama's in there. Georgia's in there. Florida State's in there. I can name a whole bunch of other schools. Syracuse, Boston College. They ain't even that great, but I know who they are. You mean to tell me, and shouts out to Tiffany Green, and I think his name is Jay. I forgot his last name. They do the commentating, and they have done everything that they could do on ESPN to promote the HBCUs. We're just talking about football right now. I want to understand how there's not one HBCU college football team in the Division Major I. There's no excuse. The NCAA people can't say nothing.
I need you.
Go ahead.
Just before, because when the clip comes out, people might take what you're saying out of context.
What?
When you said there's not one major Division I. There's not one HBCU in a Division I.
Football.
Yeah. You mean to say they're not making the championship games?
They're never. So I think this is what was bothering Deion. And I think at some point he was going to try to take them to the next level. He kind of was talking about it in interviews. That's why I had no problem when he left for Colorado. There should be no problem at all because y'all don't want to do nothing. But the point I'm making is Jackson State will never make it to the championship game. They'll never be at a Rose Bowl. They'll never be at a Fiesta Bowl. They'll never be at a Fenway Bowl. They ain't going to never go there. They only got one bowl, the Celebration Bowl. That's all you got. That's it. That's all you're going to make. So help me understand, all these years, let's just say from the time I've been watching football in the 80s to now in 2024, that is
40 years.
40 years, and not one HBCU never made it to the major Division Ones. You know why? And this is the one thing I do want to agree with on Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm 50-50 with him. I don't have nothing against him. I would talk to him, listen to him, everything. The one thing I do agree with him is these HBCUs Because if they go up, these kids that are going to Division I's, right? They go to Ohio State, they go to Georgia and all them. Imagine if Delaware State goes up onto the East Coast in the ACC. Imagine if they start winning, they start getting money, they start getting endorsements, they start building facilities. Those kids are not looking at Ohio State no more. They're looking at Delaware State.
So imagine if you agree with
imagine if Florida A&M or Tennessee State goes up to the major level. They're not looking at Notre Dame no more. They're not looking at Washington. They're not looking at Oregon State. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We'll go over here and we're going to showcase and we're going to shine the light. But those kids know they will never get there. Never. Ever, 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 ever. All you got is a celebration bowl, which, God forbid, I'm not to cut you off, I don't have anything against that. I think it's great that we have a celebration bowl. I think it showcases our talents. But let's talk about those big boys up there. How come in a predominantly white schools, okay, that Deion went, let's call it what it is. Deion went to a predominantly white school in Colorado. It's 1.3% black population, right? Can I ask you something? You're going to sit here and tell me, I'm pretty sure Ohio State's black population ain't high. I'm pretty sure Alabama's black population ain't high. I'm pretty sure Washington's black population ain't high. But somehow and yet you get the best athletes that look like us. And how I'm going to say this where it doesn't sound crazy. I don't think people of Jewish descent that could ever happen. I don't think people of Mexican descent that could ever happen. I don't think people of other sense of Italian or that it would never happen. Ever. But for some reason with our athletes, we go to predominantly white schools, okay? And I get it because they got the lights on. We see Nick Saban every year, right? They got the money to give it to him. And you know why I got the money? Because of the TV deals. The TV deals. The HBCUs ain't got no TV deal. They not asking you to come up there. Why are they not bringing the Meek or the SWAC up there and say, look, we'll let y'all come up here and whatever, let the chips fall they may, because they scared. And the fact that the presidents are not saying anything, and you know, it's so, I'm going to use the word naive right now. There's another word I want to use, but I'm going to be nice. They're so naive to think, well, we're the SWAC. No, because I didn't, and I'm going to keep saying this. I know you said you did. I don't know anything about Mississippi Valley State. I couldn't tell you anything about Delaware State's whole program. I can't tell you anything about Florida A&M, Alabama A&M. I can't tell you anything. But when I go and see the media day for ESPN, and sometimes the games ain't even broadcasted. So let me make this clear. But I know who's the quarterback for Alabama. I'll know who the quarterback is for him. Right? I'll know who the quarterback is for Washington. And they'll all go in the draft. I know all about them. So these kids coming, these young black boys that you say, well, why don't they go to HBCUs? No, stop looking at the kids, man. You need to go look higher up. Go look higher up. You'll start to find out some things that maybe we don't want to acknowledge. Like, how did y'all go all these years, but y'all been collecting money? You know what I think?
It's credence for what Ed Reed was trying to bring to, because he's another one who was trying to hold the mirror up.
I think that they have been paid, as what you have shown in that book. Our people have been paid to keep us right where we at. There is no excuse for 40 plus damn years that there is not one HBCU in a major conference. Don't you dare tell me you don't know. Nobody talks about it. Nobody on Fox will ever talk about it. Nobody on ESPN will talk about it. None of them, because it's going to mess up the money. But I guarantee if all the athletes start saying, wait a minute, yo, why ain't there HBCU I can go to in the major conferences? Tennessee State is by themselves in the conference they're in. They're not even in the SWAC.
Okay.
Hampton and North Carolina A&T.
They're in the CAA.
They're not even SWAC. I'm trying to understand how there is not one school in the major conferences. And not SEC, ACC, Pac-12. That's now defunct. Big 12. The Big West. Whatever. Now that's just football. Can I go to the other one?
Yep.
Let me go to basketball, because that's real humorous. So let me get this straight, right? And I saw a comment. It's kind of like an audible, but it's not. I saw a comment. So Dawn Staley, who saluted her, I love Dawn Staley. I love everything about her. I respect her as a coach, right? Player, everything. I remember when women's basketball was coming up. If it wasn't for Dawn Staley, women's basketball wouldn't be where it's at now. That's how important Dawn Staley is. She's playing the HBCUs. She's trying to promote the HBCUs. The one thing I do agree with Dr. Umar Johnson is, well, why you ain't just go over there and be a coach? The money would have came sooner or later. Everybody's going to follow you because of you're Dawn Staley. You see what happened with Deion? Deion was starting to get players that were going to Florida State coming to Jackson. It didn't matter that he was in the mid-majors. It's Deion Sanders. It's the same thing with Dawn Staley. My whole thing is that I'm not calling her out. I get why she went to, I mean, you're not going to tell her to turn down the money from South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Somebody, and I'm going to get to that. That's going to be my end point. But in Division I in basketball, there's no excuse. You can win your conference and go into the men's tournament or the women's tournament, and you can whoop ass, and get to the finals.
And the basketball is starting to see that.
But nobody wants to take the chance. Mo Williams, as you pointed out, is the only one. But nobody else has taken the chance. Nobody. There's not one person.
I think there's a better chance on the basketball side.
Yes.
Because once you win your conference, you get a bid into a tournament, and then the chips is full where they are.
Yep.
And I should have did my research on this, but some of the basketball schools, even at HBCU, they're looking like a couple of them schools. We might see them in the tournament, but go ahead.
But I'm wondering why there's no coaches. What the hell is going on? Y'all are getting money. Don't lie and say that y'all don't have the money. Some of these coaches will come in and coach and coach at the level for the money you give them. You know who? There's people on the radar. I would go after John Thompson's son. I would go after what's the other dude, man? Mike Williams. He used to coach in Indiana. He coached a few teams. I would go after a few coaches. There's a few eligible black coaches that you can bring down there in that system and bring down the HBCUs and say, yo, look, we're gonna form this. You know what's even more crazier? And I'm gonna bring the hip hop artists into it. The one thing that's bothering me, when Deion was around, I kept seeing the hip hop artists
all day, every game,
actors, everything. For whatever reason, the minute he left, they all stopped showing up. You don't have any excuse anymore, because we saw when Deion was there, you wanted to show up. And then when Deion left, y'all just deflated. But y'all, it's like with the Cat Williams thing. Y'all coming into those neighborhoods and those kids are spending money. Those kids are imitating you. You're influencing those kids. And you're getting money from them, whether you want to admit it or not. And you don't even show up. Let me give a small sample of what I'm talking about, and I know it'll never happen. If 3 hip hop moguls got together with a university, went and talked to the players, went and talked to the AD, said, look, we're gonna come down here, we're gonna put endorsement money down here, we're gonna get those kids that you normally couldn't get to come on this team, we're gonna help build a facility, we're gonna contribute towards it, we're gonna get some brands to come down. Deion showed it. He already showed the blueprint, so there's no excuse. Right? I can assure you, I wouldn't be shocked if an HBCU school made it to the Sweet 16 Final Four within 3 years. That's if somebody really took that chance and somebody who had the money was going to do it.
And it's wide open now. Not only did Deion lead the blueprint, but we have the NIL now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying by any means to buy players, but we have the NIL in effect to do partnerships, to do brand deals, to say, hey, you know, we probably can't give you this big of a brand deal, but like you said, if Puff or one of these moguls like Rick Ross or Jeezy would work with the Mississippi Valley State or work with one of those HBCUs in basketball, Chris Paul too, because they're throwing the what we going to
Triple Q Legacy,
the legacy basketball game. Hey, we're gonna partner with this school and do an NIL deal that might attract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star players.
Yeah.
You get a couple 5-star players. Because Nike has did this for years.
Yeah, because Nike makes a lot of money off these HBCUs. Just want to put that out there. So there's no excuse. I don't want to hear Oregon. I don't care about Oregon, man. I don't want to hear about that. You make a lot of money off of places somewhere else, so you can endorse them too. And if the right voices came out and said it, it would happen. I think that's why Deion, it doesn't bother him. Okay. He probably says, look what I did. I took brands that I was affiliated with and brought new facilities down to Jackson State. I did everything I could do. Nobody's listening. So I'm going to let them sit right where they at.
So we first started off this by saying the lights are being dim.
Yeah.
How many more seasons before you think it's night before the lights is really off?
2-3 more years.
You think that's it?
Yep. I think 2-3 more years and the lights are gonna go completely off. Celebration Bowl just be the Celebration Bowl. There'll be no HBCU up in a major conference. They're already, remember, go back and look, and I know you know this because me and you talk about it, and you don't even have to go back and look. But for our viewers and for people, because people act like they don't watch, I could tell by the way certain comments are made. And I'm not talking about on the screen. I'm talking about on popular platforms that I have seen. I know they're watching us. Go back and look at what I said. The conferences, the schools are all aligning. Everybody's aligning. So everybody's saying, yo, look, this is what we're going to do. We're building. At some point, it's going to, the TV deals, Fox, ESPN, they're all getting behind, right? Even, they're getting behind the conferences. It's more of you get the schools, you go to the TV deal, you get the TV network, and you go to, and then you get the money. You say, hey, look, I'm going to get this, and this school over here. It's going to help you with your network to bring the ratings. So at some point, though, I think in the future, by the time I have grandkids, I don't think there'll be a Big 12, Big 10. I think it's just going to be one big conference.
So again, said this last year in like one of our first podcasts. It was a question that I asked you. Said with the way conference realignment is happening to the major schools, what does the conference realignment mean to HBCUs?
It means that they're going to have to either catch up with the times or they can be arrogant and they can fall apart.
I want you to elaborate.
And
so
let me make this clear.
They need to,
the Meek and the SWAC need to join and combine. They need to take Tennessee State and bring them. And they need to go knock on Fox and ESPN's door and say, look, we got all these schools. We can, and tell the NCAA, you need to let us in up to a major. You need to let us up in there. And we got the TV deal behind us. You will get more money than you'll ever know rocking with us. But I can tell you right now, if it's what I'm thinking, and Deion said it in a way, and I'm not going to get into that conversation right now. We will have that debate, though, here one day on this podcast. There's people that's clearly okay with the way things are right now. If things collapse with the HBCUs and athletics, watch who has the money. That's who the clowns are. That's who the demons are. That's who the people that's being goofy.
Okay.
That's them. Whoever the president is at the time, whoever the president is of the school, the AD and all them, that is them. If because something's got to change. It's coming. Now, I don't know if they want to be arrogant, because I keep hearing things, and I talked to somebody that went to HBCU, and he's like, yo, that's really not their thing. It's more about the school and the economics. Have you seen the have you
talk
seen
about it?
Time out. Have you seen the economic statistics for black people in America?
Yep.
I don't really think we're doing too great of a job in school. So I think maybe you might want to fall back from that.
Athletics.
Yeah, you might want to come over here to athletics. Like, so I don't want to hear that.
That doesn't make any sense. Whoever made that comment,
Nah,
you don't have to bring it. You don't have to bring the name up. But for football and basketball, we know how athletic we are. How we just had a 1 or 2 year run, the type of money that will pull into a school would be crazy.
Yeah.
But since we're on that topic,
now
I want to bring up Howard University, the great Howard University, all their alums. So it gets on the internet today, on the TikTok and all the Twitters and all the social media. Howard, they partner with the Jordan brand, and they're revealing this Jordan wall that they clearly had to spend money on. The HBCU has money on the Jordan wall.
Made me sick to my stomach.
With some tennis shoes. I hate to sound old, but with some tennis shoes, as our grandparents would say.
Yeah.
So you had money to build a Jordan wall.
Yeah.
Whether you got it from Jordan or not, but y'all found some money to make a Jordan wall with some damn tennis shoes for Howard. Meanwhile, kids from Howard for years have been getting on TikTok, have been getting on Twitter and talk about how there's mildew in their dorm rooms, how sometimes they don't have the correct appliances in their dorm rooms, how the dorm rooms are packed and the doors aren't safe and the dorms aren't safe and this and that and the third. These are the young kids who want a great HBCU experience. Y'all don't have money or time for that.
No.
At the HBCU facility to give these kids a good, and I'm not saying this all, but from what I saw, kids have been speaking out on Howard and a lot of HBCUs for years.
Yeah.
So somebody explained to me in the comments, how does Howard have enough money to find, whether it's from Jordan or not, to build a Jordan wall with some damn tennis shoes, but they can't economically fix what's going on in the student dormitory and in other areas and other facilities.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that makes me sick. That is the most ignorant. I keep using the word naive. I'm just going to use it. It's the most ignorant, stupidest.
That makes us look like the C word.
Yeah, like coonish. I mean, what are you doing?
You had some money for some tennis shoes. Like it was like ta-da.
Was it to teach the economics of the Jordan
It was
brand?
showing off the brand partnership. You know what you do? Hey Jordan, we're partnering with you. Can we start expanding our facilities so we can recruit more
So it looks
athletes? So it looks like a top tier school.
I never forgot, and the school I'm talking about. I remember we were supposed to meet somebody in the back after a football game.
Okay.
I looked at the practice facility of the gym. The arena was beautiful. The practice facility was great. I couldn't believe what I was seeing with my own eyes. And I'm like, yo, there ain't no way we would never see that at Hampton.
Nope.
You crazy? They ain't got no facility like that. That was insane. And I was like, yo, so you got money for a Jordan wall, but you can't put a facility in like that?
Apparently not.
You got to be kidding me.
I'm just like, this is what you do with your brand partnerships. I know the students at that school is like, yo, I want to transfer so bad to another school when they saw that. Because I've been seeing it for years.
Yeah, that's the most ignorant thing
I've
I've ever seen.
Around the time of, right when the kids were coming back from COVID, so 2021. They've been online for years. Like
talking about this like they ain't fixing nothing.
Like, yo, do y'all see this? Do y'all see the leaky ceilings? Do y'all see the doors can't lock properly? Like they was naming stuff. They was showing it on video camera. Y'all couldn't figure out how to leverage the brand partnerships for that, but y'all had enough wherewithal to say, hey, we're gonna build this shrine of Jordan tennis shoes.
Yeah.
You big dummy, you. That's what I want to say.
That made us look so ignorant and stupid, and I can't. I don't have words for that.
This is the equivalent, and I'm not trying to go places, but this is the equivalent of back in the 80s and 90s when drug dealers had all that money around their neck, but they was still staying in a dirty apartment complex buildings in the hood.
Facts.
Yeah, all that money for the chains and the BMW, but you still staying up in an apartment in Harlem and the Bronx.
Crazy.
And not buying real estate and buildings and doing stuff that would have mattered, that would have got you out of that economic position.
Facts.
Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm looking too deep.
No, you're not. It just when you see that just goes back to my point. You see what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Where's the money going? Y'all get money. So where's the money going? And you're getting partnerships. You mean to tell me Michael Jordan endorsed that? You're going to tell me Phil Nike endorsed that? I'm pretty sure. I mean, we're the little guys. Nobody's going to answer to that. How ignorant and how stupid can you be to do something like that? And I hope when I saw that video, sorry. I hope when I saw that video, I hope that wasn't the dean I saw up there or the president or whoever that was. I don't know who that was, but I hope they weren't there. But I mean, they had to have passed it. It had to go through them for that to happen. I mean, what is this going to do? There has to be some incentive or some scholarships or something. Please, God, Jesus, tell me.
I hope so. I hope we missed something.
That didn't look good at all.
That clip they put out,
I just shook my head in disbelief. And let me go here with this situation. Back to what I was talking about. I got a little sidetracked with Dawn Staley. I'm going to keep saying this. Y'all can keep running to them schools, whatever you want to do. And like I said, Staley's she's a GOAT. I would never disrespect her. I just want to know when somebody's going to take the chance. When somebody's going to roll the dice and say, yo, I'm going to go down there. When is Tina Thompson going to roll the dice? Go down there. Is Dawn Staley going to roll the dice and go down there? Salutes to the Mississippi Jackson State coach. I forgot her name. She's been kind of doing her thing, and she had made it clear: HBCU ain't built. If you ain't built for it, don't come down here trying to, because it ain't gonna work. Okay. It's not like getting a job at Georgia or UCF or Rhode Island. It's not the same. It's not. So I mean, from the way I look at the arenas, the basketball stadiums look great. The football stadiums look okay too. It's just, when are we going to take the next step? I don't want to hear that this kid got drafted, so that makes it okay. No, we need to go up. At least one school. There ain't even one HBCU up there. To be honest with you, you know what? Let's even be on a humble tip. Let's just say they all collude together, like the owners in the NFL do, even though they don't want to acknowledge it. They all collude together and say, look, let's just bite this bullet. Let's take one school and let them just go up to the Division I. Let them go up there and see what happens. We'll get behind them. We'll help each other. Let's just all go up there. We'll be behind them, right? Show support. I guarantee they'll change the game. But nobody wants to do it. So, and we know what Cat Williams said. They sell their soul and keep their head down and act like nothing's happening. And I truly believe it. He ain't lying.
So you give them 3 years.
I give him 3 years and lights going to go way off. The best we're probably going to have is media day for you know, they're not, let me say this, because we're media. And you know, and I'm not trying to toot our horn, but you know me and you look at things differently. Mm-hmm. We can outwork anybody. To be honest with you, I could do it with my eyes closed. The things you be doing is way better.
Let's go here with
Can
this.
I make a comment too?
Okay.
Let me. Can I respond to something?
Go ahead.
Because I found it offensive when somebody said that's not a journalist. That's Azar. Number one, like our video work, really Deshaun's video work, outmasters yours by 10,000 times. That's one. Two, I'm not even gonna go there, but I can mollywop somebody. I ain't gonna even do it. Two, we go where we want because we're bosses. Nobody tells us where to go. Mm-hmm. Don't think because you get flown to somewhere where there's no black people that you think that makes you at a higher status. And it was disrespectful and rude. But I'm just gonna say I acknowledged the rude comment. But where was I going? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, I was going here.
Yes.
When you was talking about media and what we did, especially in HBCU, we went to the Brick City Classic.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. Was it the Brick City Classic?
Yes, it was.
Brick City Classic football game with Grambling, who's sponsored by Adidas, and Hampton, who's a part of the CAA. And it was hosted in New Jersey. I forgot the name of the arena.
Red Bull Arena.
In the Red Bull Arena.
In New York, New Jersey.
The way that was promoted was beyond poor. Yes, it was ESPN, but not too many people showed up to really fully promote that. So after we're thinking, oh, hey, there's going to be a ton of media in the back because the way this was promoted, you brought these schools from the South up to New Jersey, and all you had back there was 4 black independent media outlets, which was one of them was us showing up.
Yeah.
And 2 other independent media outlets.
Yeah.
What are you doing to push the culture forward? You had a Brick City Classic HBCU football game. Where was the media for that? Where was the ESPN analyst? You didn't get one ESPN analyst to say, y'all need to cover that in New Jersey and bring us the footage or get the exclusive with Hugh Jackson or with Robert Prunty from Hampton.
I didn't see nobody from ESPN.
Nobody from ESPN showed up to the Brick City Classic, but independent media outlets who are black.
That's crazy.
So how are you going to move forward with the culture with that? Maybe I'm missing something.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
That's the piece I was going to throw into that.
Yeah.
So we seen it from the media side.
Yeah.
So people saying, oh, y'all just on Twitter. No, we actually travel to football games. We support HBCUs.
Yeah.
We show up for HBCUs on the media side.
And had we not been going through, and we'll talk about at the end, what we was going through, you would have saw more highlights. But like I said, shout to HBCU game day. They the only ones that show up. Let me also add on to that Brick City Classic. You know what bothered me about that? Shouts to CAA because they was winning. I will give them credibility. They tried as best as they could. Yeah. They did push and promote it. I saw them trying. But it's the ones that look like us that I saw on that silent. I ain't gonna say no names yet, but if they ever come at me, I'm gonna get them. I saw people there that we seen at the WNBA. Taking pictures, snapping, acting like they all part of the culture. Not one push and promotion. I went right to their page to watch them. Nothing. Not an article, not a picture, nothing. I saw a picture with them saying, look, I'm here in the field. I ain't see anything else. You got in that game and didn't do any promotion. and they wonder why we falling behind.
So that concludes that segment with the lights going off for HBCUs.
Don't worry, it's coming. Then you know what's going to happen then? Oh, we need to do something. Let's blame the government.
And like I say, I'll end off at like this. This isn't coming from two random journalists.
Yeah.
One of them is an actual HBCU grad.
Yep.
My partner graduated from HBCU. Outside of that, this isn't coming from people who don't show up to HBCU games. Not just in their state, but actually travels to multiple HBCU games. So when we're telling you what we're seeing from the media side, we're telling you people are not showing up in the stadium and major media analysis are not showing up to do the post-game coverage.
I don't think anybody knew about it. If you weren't a Hampton alum fan, you didn't know about that game. I was hearing rumors about that. Like, it wasn't, they didn't really know about the game. I don't know where it was being pushed.
Well, let's move on.
Okay.
You wanted to talk about Deion before we leave HBCU land of what he did with Colorado. So I want you to give a brief analysis on how you think that went.
Just real quick, I think with Deion, I this year he did finish 4-8. He took over a 1-11 team. That's one. 2, this was going to take time. 3, he's doing the same thing we did at Jackson State. His first year, he went 6-5 or 5-6, right? The next year, they got better. They went to the championship game. They got in the Celebration Bowl. So with Deion, knowing his track record, I would say either one thing is for certain: he'll have a winning record this year. That's without a doubt.
And there was 2, not to cut you off, there was 2 throwaway games.
So he should have been 6-6.
Like the game they were up by 29 points at halftime and managed to lose that. So there was 2 of those games.
He should have been.
Go ahead.
No, he should have been 6-6, but he finished 4-8, and that's fine. That's 3 games better than what they were dealing with last year. And between all the endorsements, probably all the money that the alumni, everything that Colorado endorsed from him just being in that building, trust me, he made up for it. I think now he's had the year to learn. He knows what he needs to do. He has brought even more transfers, and he's now fixing what he saw what was a problem in Colorado. So I would say I wouldn't be shocked if they're in a bowl game next year. Let me say that.
But hey, the Power 5 schools can't compete no more. The NIL.
No, wait, no. Let's call that what that is. You know what my response to that is? You know, it's funny. I think the schools were saying that when the coaches were leaving. Remember that? Oh, we can't compete because they're going to offer this guy all this money and we can't compete. It wasn't a problem then.
Nope.
The only problem when the kids that don't look like you are starting to embrace it.
Shout out to the coach that retired. Didn't want to say Nick Saban.
Nick Saban, yeah.
I want to ask you that real quick before we go back to Colorado.
Oh well,
let's put it on the table. Did Nick Saban retire on his own accord, or did NIL retire Nick Saban? Keep it 100.
Yeah, NIL retired Nick Saban. I'm pretty sure if it was still the good old boy way, he wouldn't have left. He would have control. Let me say this. This is the one response I want to make. People say NIL does, and I get their point because sometimes I don't agree with all the transferring, right? Let me make this clear, though. I've seen behind the scenes, and we've been at big-time Power 5 schools. Me and you have been there. I've seen how many kids careers have been destroyed because some arrogant,
coach,
idiotic, geek, weak little B word that had more control than he should have and destroyed a kid's career. So I've seen that. So this will stop that. Trust me. That's the positive. That's my response to that. I do get it. Some of these kids are just transferring one too many times. But I also seen the other end too. So it's gonna level it out. And trust me, it's a good thing.
Let's go back to Colorado. What do you think they need to do to have that winning record this year?
They got to protect Shador. They have to protect Shador, and they have to create a better defensive line. They're getting beat on the line, dog.
That line was horrendous,
offensively and defensively.
Both.
Yeah. If they fix that, easily bowl game, easily. That's the worst they're gonna do. But I mean, we're talking. Let me tell you this. I would give it 3 or 4 years. Deion will be up in those Power Bowls, the playoff, and the Fiesta Bowl and all that. He'll be in there. He'll be in there fighting for a national title. I bet you money. I bet money on it. He will. Give it 3-4 years. He'll be there.
Does Deion stay with Colorado? Or
Yes.
does he go to... Okay.
Unless there's somebody's talking a better financial opportunity.
All right. Because I was wondering, like, with Colorado, if he takes Colorado past what he did with Jackson State, do you stay here or do you go to I don't want to say Michigan because they're solidified, but to a Power 5 school?
You mean like Florida State?
Yeah, because he already said he's not interested in NFL, which I don't know, man.
Really?
I don't know.
First of all,
you playing Deion.
First of all, that's a lie. Because let me tell you this: what's going to happen? I'm not calling Deion a liar. So you mean to tell me if an NFL franchise drafts your son, says, "Look, we're going to pay you a certain amount of money, and you get to coach your son," you don't think you're going to take it?
That's
really,
history.
Really.
That's like your boy LeBron talking about Bronny can play right now.
Yeah,
but that's a whole nother topic.
So I think that sounds good.
Good.
But we're talking about reality.
Deion.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Yeah, come on, son. Definitely. And the famous words of Ed Lover. Come on,
son.
Facts. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish them well, man.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to all the collegiate athletes out there. Shout out to Clemson, man. I ain't gonna say no names because people want their privacy, but
let me
salute to Clemson.
Well, let me shout out for I don't know if he's coming out of the draft. I saw this one player. His name is if you want to see what a future number 1 pick tackle is for the NFL, go look at Oregon and Johnny Cornelius.
Kid is a monster.
Domination.
6'7", 320 pounds.
Domination.
Offensive tackle.
Yeah, I don't know if he's coming out this year, or if he's decided not on it yet. I don't know anything about that. I haven't seen anything, but if he goes back to Oregon, you can go look at him. That'll tell you everything you need to know.
Salute to Johnny
trust me,
Cornelius.
If he comes out this year, please God Atlanta, go get him because we need all the help we can get. You know what I'm saying?
You don't think Mason Rudolph needs help, man?
Oh my God!
Come on,
Jesus couldn't help him, man. Look at him. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, Kenny, Pickett needs him.
Oh yeah.
Like he'd be great for Pickett.
I said it right. I said Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. Okay.
The QB1.
No. I got you. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
All right. So before we jump out of that, do you have anything else to add?
No. I think that, like I said, we covered a lot of topics of college. And I'm pretty sure we'll revisit it. Mm-hmm. One more thing. Let me shout out, because I want to say this, and I think that we watch a lot of sports, and it's hard for us to watch everybody. For Monday, I was watching Mississippi Valley State's women basketball team. So shout out to SWAC. They beat Texas Southern. Shout out to Kimberly Anderson, who's the head coach. Because I know she just got there, I think, last year. So she's been trying to change the system down there. She's had a rough start. Last year she had a rough start. This year she had a rough start. But she's playing teams like LSU, Alabama. She plays like all the big schools. And she's, a rebuilding SWAC school. Long story short, they're on a 13-game losing streak. Yesterday they went out. It looked ugly at halftime. And in the second half, I don't know what happened. I don't know what she said to the team.
That switch.
Something popped off, and they came back. They ended up winning the game on a free throw at the end by the name of Shadiman McKnight. She hit a critical free throw in the game to beat Texas Southern in the 13-game losing streak. So Mississippi Valley State now has 2 wins. They're no longer winless in the conference. And salute to them because I think a storyline like that needs to be told. It's not. It was on YouTube. It wasn't on like an ESPN or anything, but I took initiative because unlike these other people that will sit on TV and talk about what we need to do, we actually put in the work, and I paid attention. So salute to that sister for her not letting her team just go down like that. She was like, no, we're not doing that. I don't know what she said in that locker room, but whatever it was, it clearly got her team's attention, and they turned the switch back on.
We got to interview that coach because that's a great story.
Yeah.
Hopefully you let us know what you told them in the locker room when we interview you in the near future. We're gonna put that in the universe.
Yeah, we're gonna get around to the SWAC and the Meek schools. We'll get around to you. Just give us time. We'll get there.
All right. Before we jump into NFL, because we got a lot of NFL topics, want to jump into one current event.
What's that?
So obviously while we was gone, dealing with our family stuff.
Yeah.
Cat Williams broke the internet.
Oh, Lord.
Cat Williams and Shannon
Oh, my God.
Now, obviously, people ran that content into the ground. It's just, I'll give one thing I took from it, and you give one thing you took from it. So out of all the storylines from that Cat Williams interview that ran up to like, I want to say it's at 60 million views on YouTube.
Yeah.
One of the best parts for me is when he talked about, he went into his bit on tithing. I want to say that's how you pronounce it, tithing.
Okay.
So he pretty much, Shannon asked him, he said, is it true? We done heard stories about the females around you going up into the acts that open up for you and dropping off a money bag with no name attached to it and walking off. And he kind of didn't want to toot his own horn. He wanted to be private about it, but he said, you know, that's my way of giving back. He said, if I know there's some up and coming comedian opening up for me who's not getting paid as much, wouldn't it be nice if somebody dropped off, you know, $750 in his lap and he doesn't have to pit me on his Instagram and he doesn't have to metaphorically suck me off and praise my name.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like that was dope because after he said those comments, there was so many comedians, like you said, D. Ray Davis, that backed the story. They was like, yeah, I was opening up for Cat Williams and somebody just dropped off $1,000 to me and kept it moving.
Yeah. We
heard the story of Boosie. Boosie on Vlad TV said, I came home from jail. I went to a Cat Williams concert, and before I could get out the parking lot, his assistant threw $15,000 at me and walked off. I'll say that again. He said, yo, I just came home from jail, and his assistant or one of the girls around him had a towel and threw $15,000 at him and walked off. That's how intentional he is with helping out people in his community when the same people, well, not those same people, but other people was talking about, well, Cat Williams is wasting his opportunity. He's on drugs. You know, I will say his name, like Kevin Hart and so forth. Like they wanted to down Cat Williams. I don't know no drug addicts that's giving away $15,000. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Drug addicts do not give away $500, let alone $15,000.
Right.
So I just wanted to salute Cat Williams on that because it takes a lot to be a giving person and not expect nothing back and not want nobody to shout you out on Twitter or Instagram, and you do it from the heart. You know, that's how it should be done. So that was one of my takes from that.
Yeah. I wanted to say, what's the thing I was going to say? You know what I picked up? He said, yo, because I forgot what Shannon asked him, but he had basically said, he's like, yo, I fund my own
Tours,
shows, my own tours. He said, how could you ask somebody to invest in you when you don't even invest in yourself? That's the one jewel I got. So it's like what Dame always be saying, if you put up the money, you're the boss. And I'm going to keep saying it. Everything that looks on TV, that's an illusion. Like you're the boss, you are not. Taraji B. Henson just came out and said, yo, as many as the movies out there, like she did Benjamin Button. Like, you know how big that movie was? And all she got was $1 million? Why Brad Pitt got like $10 million? Because you ain't the boss. And they played you. And I'm not, and that's not a shot, because Taraji B. Henson's she's a queen in her own right. She's, she is who she is. That's Taraji effing Henson. You know what I mean? You don't just walk up on Taraji B. Henson. The point I'm making is like, yo, we need to start being us. That's why that whole fuel from that anger from the college thing. We need to start being us and stop being timid. It's who I hate to use a quote from, like when Donald Trump was talking about to Joe Biden. What do y'all got to lose? What do you got to lose? You've been rocking with this all this time. Let me put that in perspective, because I know people are going to try to take that somewhere. You've been rocking with this all this time. So the equivalent of the system, and I'm just going to say the system. They say, we're your friends. We got your back, right? The NCAA, college game day, oh, yeah, we rolling with you, and da-da-da-da. We respect you, right? The lights went dim on a Celebration Bowl and all. I ain't see them down there for that. I didn't even see down there for HBCU visit the whole season. Point I'm making is that we not backing each other. We not.
50 said he's about to get behind her, and I hope they work together.
Yeah.
50 stepped up. He said, yo, come holla at me. So
he funded his tour. He didn't have Rock Nation behind him. He don't want Rock Nation behind him. Remember me and you've had this conversation. Why you going over there? I'm not working for you. No. Because you're not going to puppet master me to say something. Unlike somebody, we saw a picture of them stopping young black boys from going into a school. And then I saw them the other day at a game because their team was losing and almost having a heart attack. Maybe that was the ghost of those young black boys. That's what that was. Let me not get into that conversation. Point I'm making is that we ain't doing that. If we stick together, we'll win.
I don't think people got that shot you through. Man.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So with Cat Williams, what I'm gonna say is he made a good point. We fund our own. I'm going to I gotta that's why he feels comfortable. That's why people like him, 50 Cent, and even Dame. Let me say something about Dame real quick. They talk about Dame, right? Oh, he ain't got no money, he ain't got this. Behind closed doors, me and you have seen personally dudes that favorite rappers, you think they got it and they really don't. Let me tell you something about all that with all those nations and all those throwing signs and they not built like they didn't got it. It just looks good up in the front. So when Dame is sitting up there and he's looking the way he's looking, they're like, oh, he ain't got the chance or anything. No, he just not going to get on his knees. But he's making it. Y'all just don't see it yet. That's why he not scared to say what he's saying. That's why 50 Cent ain't scared to say what he's saying. That's why Cat Williams ain't scared to say what they're saying because they put their own money into their situation. That's why Cat Williams said, what Kevin Hart gonna do to him? With what? You don't own nothing? What do you own? You own nothing that I work with over here? Ricky Smiley, Steve Harvey. What do you own that you don't own any of the arenas and stadiums that I play in? So what are you gonna do? Nothing.
Can't blackball him.
That's what I'm saying, because he's the boss. So that's the jewel I got.
All right. Let's travel off into NFL land because we got a few NFL topics.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw you up an alley-oop.
Yes, sir.
So right before we did this podcast, like as I'm typing up stuff as we're getting ready, the news breaks. The New England Patriots hire Jerod Mayo, the first black coach from the Patriots in history.
Which is very disturbing. Go ahead.
With the talk about, not just in sports, but outside of sports, about diversity, because that's a big topic. And because they're so merit-based now. Oh, everything is merit-based. Was Jerod Mayo, in your opinion, a diversity hire?
I don't think he was. I think it was.
Let me reframe that.
Okay.
Got hired a week before Black History Month on top of that.
You're a funny dude. You just don't want. Okay, man. I don't see it like that, but okay. I can see where you're going with it. You know what I think? I think they just went with what was comfortable.
Okay.
I don't think they was gonna come in here and bring Josh McDaniel in here. I think. Let me say this. I will say this. I don't think it was diversity hire, but let me make this clear. I find it hard to believe if Belichick was retiring successfully. I'm sorry. If he was retiring successfully, I don't think he would have got the job. Do you ever notice, and I don't want to hear that, well, you make coaching changes, it's usually because the team is bad. Minorities never go get the best situation. What in the hell situation does he really got right now? He has a top 5 defense, because no matter what the people say about the Patriots, they had a top 5 defense this year. Trust me, they did wonders for my fantasy team. Point I'm making is, though, he has Matt Jones, who was miserable with Bill O'Brien, right? And it just wasn't working out with him and Bill Belichick. You got Billy Zappi. I mean, he played as best as he could play, but I don't know if he's the future. We'll see. Basically, the Patriots they're gonna have a top pick. It's not a horrible situation, but I'm wondering, is it an ideal situation? Is he gonna get the time to pick it to build it? Because after Belichick done slopped it up for the past 2 years, how patient is the fan base gonna be? How patient are they gonna be? Because this is a rebuild. I don't care what you say. Even if you get Mac Jones, if you tell Matt Jones, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to rock with you. It's going to be a clean slate. It's a rebuild. You're going to have to rebuild that offense. That offense was horrific because of Belichick's bonehead decisions with not only
the Patriot way.
Let me not really. Yeah, the Patriot way is the losing way. It's called the Tom Brady insurance that helped the Patriot way. That's what that's called. So point I'm making is, this is a mess. And I don't know if Jerod Mayo is the bridge guy. I hope he's not. I'm not saying that Kraft and him ain't, but it was funny how, I mean, what, the season just ended for Belichick and them, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
And you got Mayo coming in here? Who did they interview? I'm happy he got it. I'm just wondering, I'm hoping he ain't the bridge guy. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like we gonna get our future pick, and then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna move on. No, that ain't gonna work. No. No. So I just hope I hope he gets the opportunity, but I'm going to say this again. It's been 2 years. 2 years of horrific play. And I'm wondering how this is going to work. I didn't see the press conference yet, so probably by the next podcast.
That was a great press conference. He talked about he does see color.
Yeah.
You know, he led off with that. I'm not colorblind. You know, I do see color because race does exist. Yeah. So go look that up.
Yeah, I haven't seen the press conference yet, but we'll see. You'll see by the actions. You can always tell by the actions are they really behind the coach or not. Mm-hmm. You know, but I wonder who the GM's gonna be. I wonder who. You know, it's a lot that play, but I think it's a good look. Okay. Let me say that. I think it's great that he's getting the opportunity, and I think he will succeed as long as they put him in position to succeed.
Okay.
So if they give him everything he wants, then it will work. But if it's I don't want to make excuses and I'll just work with whatever they give me, he's in trouble.
All right.
And mind you, one more thing. He's following behind Tom Brady-led teams, even though Belichick is a mess, 6 Super Bowl championships. This is going to be hard to follow. But I'm rooting for him.
So let's travel to the AFC North.
Okay. You want to start with Pittsburgh. Got you.
Talk about the great Pittsburgh Steelers.
Lord have mercy.
And Mike Tomlin. Mm-hmm. So I'll be, for the people who know Son of a Jones, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Been that way since a kid in the 90s. Mm-hmm. The talk surrounding Pittsburgh Steelers is having a winning record in the regular season good enough anymore for this historic franchise? So that's how I want to frame it, because they talked about it on ESPN, Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, and the fan base in general. Is it good enough to just say we got over 500, not just this season, because I already heard the talk about this season, but since 2016? Is that a good enough excuse anymore when you're barely getting into wild card games and getting blown out in wild card games for the last 7 years?
You're talking about Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of what Tomlin's had to go through, this year let's say this,
he gets it past this year.
But I think come down the pipeline, we need to see this going somewhere. And when I say that, let's look at the thing, okay? You held on to Matt Canada too long. One too many games too long. Mm-hmm. Okay, you held on to him. You didn't have a backup plan. I don't know if this is all Tomlin's fault. I know everybody wants to go at Tomlin, but let me ask you something. You said it yourself. Roethlisberger was there too long. It's not only that they didn't have a backup plan.
So for the fans that's gonna watch this on the playback, so they don't think that I'm making this up.
Yeah,
I want you to validate what I'm saying. What year did I call you complaining about Ben Roethlisberger?
What was that? 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Nope.
Before that?
You bugging. I was living in Long Island.
Yeah.
I ain't have no kids. We had a conversation back in 2013. What year is it?
2024.
11 years ago, when Ben Roethlisberger was still in his prime. I'm just saying this so when the fan base watch this on the playback, they don't think I just started making this up in 2019, 2020. This is when Big Ben was 30, 31 years old.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm seeing some things I'm not liking. What is the succession plan when Ben Roethlisberger gets past his prime and it's time for him to ride off in the sunset? Did I not ask you that? Because you're the football analysis.
You're going to be in trouble, yeah.
I said, we're going to be in trouble because it doesn't seem like a backup plan.
Right.
And the reason why I was calling that out, because I was noticing when he was getting hit and he would disappear for 3 or 4 games.
Right.
I was like, who's this backup quarterback? What are we doing?
Mason Rudolph. Or it would be like Charlie Batch.
Charlie Batch back then.
Yeah. Which was okay, but you knew he wasn't a future.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So then fast forward 5-6 years later, 2019, 2020 comes around. I'm like, okay, Big Ben is 37, 38. He's starting to come to an end. What's the succession plan? So if we're going to have any conversation as a fan base, outside of pointing the fingers at Tomlin, who came up with the succession plan?
I don't know, because there wasn't one. Pickett just fell in their lap, dog. That was just by chance. That wasn't like we have a situation. Let me. Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Anytime your quarterback hits 30, you need to start figuring out a backup, a kid that you're going to develop. Let me give you a point. When Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay, he had a problem because they drafted Jordan Love.
Yep, I remember that.
His arrogant ass thought, like, no, you should just wait till whenever I tell you I ain't going to do this no more. Mind you, you was the guy that was sitting back for 3 or 4 years when Brett Favre wanted the same thing. You should just wait. You shouldn't go draft a quarterback. You should wait till I tell you I'm done, and then have to go do that.
Over.
Right, then it's over, and we have to restart, and now we have to go through the pain. Point I'm making is the Jets listened to his arrogant behind because they thought, oh, we got Aaron Rodgers, right? And I'm not going to get into the whole, what's this kid's name's? Zach Wilson. If he was anywhere else, Zach Wilson wouldn't be who he is right now. I feel bad for him. Anyway, long story short is they didn't have a backup plan. We know Wilson wasn't ready. And they thought that Rodgers was going to be durable. Even though Jordan Love wasn't ready when Rodgers got hurt before, you kind of knew where it was going.
Yeah.
They were developing this kid to when he was ready. To when Rodgers was ready to walk out the door, and when they couldn't afford him no more, they was ready. They knew what to do, right? I don't think with this situation with Pittsburgh, it's like they just kept listening, like, oh, well, we're just gonna ride this out, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. He was, even when Roethlisberger's last 2-3 years, you knew he didn't have what he had. So how did you not have a contingency plan? Do not tell me Mason Rudolph was the answer. You know damn well he wasn't the answer.
I was telling you that. I said,
like, come on, man.
But that cannot be the answer. Do we have any draft picks to trade?
Or get a guy that you know that when he retires,
give us a bridge quarterback.
Right. That will until we develop a kid that we know that's going to be ready. You can't. What are you doing? You can't do that.
Starting at the bottom in the QB position as a Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I think that's what the fan base and with me. It's like one thing to point the finger and say maybe we need a new voice, but we're looking at it like we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We won all these championships. This is how it's going down, really?
Yeah.
Like, this is how it's going down.
I think they're starting to look at it as we're happy that you're doing what you're doing, but we need to see the progress now.
Yeah.
Like we knew you were surviving after the bending. Everybody gets that. Okay, regardless, we know there's going to be a struggle, right? 1 or 2 years. We need to start seeing you go to playoffs and Super Bowl. We get when Brady's beating you and you can't get to Super Bowl. It's another thing. But it's another thing when there's no Brady. Let's look at the top teams right now, right? All of them got guys, and we're going to talk about Atlanta later, but Atlanta made some sorry excuse. Don't worry about it. We good. But either way, we good. Atlanta made a sorry excuse that I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But they were saying well, it's kind of hard to develop a quarterback, you know, these young guys. Jacksonville drafted Trevor Lawrence, and they said, we're going to ride this out. And when it didn't work with Urban Meyer, they found somebody to make it work, right? Same thing with I can assure you. Look at C.J. Stroud in Houston. Okay? So now in the NFC North, Lamar Jackson came, but Flacco was still the man. But they drafted Lamar because they knew what was coming. Either way, you know either you're not going to be able to afford this quarterback anymore at this stage, or it's going to be time. Cleveland knew better, and that's why he took the chances with Deshaun Watson. Cincinnati with Burrow, okay? That kid that backed him up didn't do too bad because they were still in a playoff hunt till the last week of the season, okay? And now it was Cincinnati, Cleveland, and it's somebody in Baltimore, right? They all got plans. They all had plans. Go back and look at when all this was changing, when everything was changing. Pittsburgh was the only one that didn't have a plan. Once Roethlisberger retired, they really didn't have a plan. So when Pickett came in, it was good, but you could see him in Canada wasn't rocking. Hell, half the offensive team don't even like Canada. And we had reliable source reports that nobody liked that guy. They didn't want him. Remember? We ain't gonna say who.
The offense was this.
We ain't gonna say who told us, but I know for a fact they couldn't stand Canada, and they were letting Tomlin know we don't want this guy. And Tomlin was being hard headed. And at the end of the day, you had to let him go. In all of your years, have you ever seen somebody at a hockey game yelling to fire offensive football coordinator?
Nope.
I have never seen that in my life. That's when you know it's bad. You got to go. So hear what I'm saying. You got Pickett. I know Rudolph held in. He got you in those last 3 games. He got you to the playoffs. You got to stick with Pickett. You know you can't go with Rudolph. You know you can't.
The fan base said we need to stick. I'm telling you, the fan base is going to be up in arms.
What do you mean?
I follow a lot of group pages on social media.
They saying Rudolph?
They're saying Rudolph, QB1.
He already was backing up. Brandon, when he went in there, he was doo-doo. You want to go through that again?
So, before we leave the Pittsburgh Steelers, what is the timeline if Tomlin stays his final year and re-signs a new contract? What's the timeline before people start looking at him? Because he's on the cusp now.
It's no longer with Pittsburgh. We're gonna do 2. You know, like you it's okay. You had a winning record this year. No, you need to be in the playoffs, and you need to be in that Final Four. At some point, we need to next year. It can't be you just got in a wild card. You need to be in like the semifinals. So who's coming this weekend? When it's Houston and Baltimore. And I forgot who else is playing. It's somebody in the East, Buffalo and Kansas City. Okay, because Josh Allen's not going nowhere. Patrick Mahomes is not going nowhere. Most of the high profile QBs, no disrespect to NFC, they're in the AFC. So you either better get with the program or you're going to be finding yourself down in the bottom, miserable, trying to figure it out. New England is now figuring that out because Belichick's little arrogant ass thought he was going to sit up there and be like, I got a good defense and I can just roll with whoever. Really? Yeah, how'd that work out? The Jets, the Jets, they're all in. They're trying to win now because they know on the back end they don't got a plan, dog. Once Aaron Rodgers leaves, I don't care what you say, Zach Wilson is not that guy. He can't handle New York. They're hoping he'll develop, but they got nobody back there. So to give you a point, when you look at even the AFC West, you look at the AFC South, you got that kid from Indy, that quarterback, he got injured this year. He's coming. Trevor Lawrence, he's coming. You got CJ Stroud. You see what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just first year. So you got Justin Herbert in the West. You got, we ain't gonna get into Sean Payton. I'm not gonna talk about that ignorant guy. But hear what I'm saying. There's quarterbacks coming out of there. Lamar Jackson, they're not going nowhere. Tua's not going nowhere. So you better figure it out. If you Pittsburgh, it ain't. At some point, the playoffs ain't going. You having to win a record ain't going to work.
And the reason why I bring that up because people was getting on my case. Oh, y'all just hating on Tomlin. I said, look, I've been a Pittsburgh fan since a kid in the 90s.
You know,
not just when Ben Roethlisberger, way before Ben Roethlisberger. People are not happy saying we're 8-8 or 9-7 or 10-7, and hey, we gotta hope somebody loses to get in a wild card. Like that's our Super Bowl.
I'm not defending Tomlin for this game. He didn't have T.J. Watt.
Yeah,
he didn't have Kenny Pickett. And let me tell you what else is a problem. The one number one issue that Tomlin is what's making him look bad. If you look at it, okay, Antonio Brown was a problem. Juju Smith-Schuster with him tick-tocking on people's logos. His arrogant behind was a problem. Chase Claypool was a problem. Pickens was a problem. And what's the other guy's name that I wrote down here? Deontay Johnson.
Okay.
And now Najee Harris done came out and said, yo, I think it's Tomlin's fault, the reason why we lost the game.
I didn't hear that.
I think he was saying something to the effect of the play calling. Or Tomlin or something like that, right?
I didn't hear that.
I want to hear this. At some point, I know you're getting the best out of the players. You have, and you got them in the playoffs. Salute to you. But you got to run the show. And to be honest with you, if I'm the owner, I'm having a conversation with Tomlin like, before I renew your contract, you need to tell me what you're gonna do, because I saw that guy with with Pickens. I don't like what he's doing. What are you gonna do? Because I really want to ship his ass up out of here. Don't tell me what you're gonna bring the best out of him. I want to know what you're gonna do. And if I'm Tomlin, I'm looking like we need to bring some guys in here that I don't have these type of problems with. Yeah, I can't deal with this, because they hit a lot of stuff that we wasn't sure with him and Brown, when Antonio Brown was acting the way he's acting, and then we found out what Antonio Brown was doing, and then we kind of saw it with Claypool with his just selfish play. Then he went somewhere else, and they said no, we good. They shipped him to Miami. He's been irrelevant ever since. You see where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. It's a pattern with the players that they're not scared. So even though you're bringing the best production out of them, there's some egos in there that need to get checked. And if you want to go to the next level, I don't know what you need to say. I personally would ship them somewhere where it's horrible. So I would say
Chicago.
I would say, well, since you're so great of a picking since Houston, man, I'm gonna send you to Washington, and you can go sit over there and tell me how great you want to be then. Give me I forgot the kid's Terry something McLaughlin. Give me him, because I don't really want to deal with this. I just don't. So I think everybody needs to have a kumbaya moment, and it's not just Tomlin. The ownership needs to take responsibility, or the GM or whoever it is, and need to say, we're going to start cleaning house, and make a message to the players. Just ship one of them out and let them know, if you want out, you're going to join them too. I'm going to put you somewhere where you don't really like to want to be. Good luck with that. Because we're trying to compete with Tua, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert.
We don't got time.
We ain't got time for this. They're in their prime. We coming up, and we got to come up to do something with them. Figure it out.
All right, let's go to the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh God. By the way, I had a whole bunch of notes for Pittsburgh, but I'll do that another time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that some other time.
No, listen, man. Listen, we got this. So the Falcons, they finished this year 7-10. Third straight season they finished 7-10. I'm gonna say that again. The third straight season they finished 7-10.
Oh, I know.
So the other day, I can't even say it with straight face. So the other day, the Falcons owner and president, the Falcons owner Arthur Blank and Rich McKay, the president, they do a press conference, end of season press conference. Terry Fontenot's nowhere to be found. When they asked him where he was at, he said, and I quote, they said, and I quote, well, coaches are worried about their jobs, and personnel are worried, and people in the office. So, Fontenot's dealing with that, because that's, what the GMs do. Yeah, but they need to be here. And I'm not understanding why you and the president are here to answer all the questions. So that happens. Then the president, Rich McKay, comes out and says, well, I don't really have too much to deal with anything as far as like when Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot were like making decisions. But then Arthur Blank comes out in the press conference. It was like a big contradiction. He says, well, they both report to Rich McKay, to Rich McKay. Mm-hmm. So you do got something to do with it. So that's one. Two, when they asked him why the failure, let me put this in an abysmal way. The Falcons were in contention for the playoffs. And as Stephen A. Smith says about the Cowboys, which we might want to bring up a point about them later, we'll figure it out. They said, what did the Falcons? They said, they lost. So let me backtrack. The last game of the season, they went into a situation where they had lost the game to New Orleans. They were still in playoff contention, but I think somebody won, so they got knocked out. They lost to New Orleans. No lie. New Orleans, and Jameis Winston has already come out and said it. Dennis Allen said, yo, just kneel. We're not going to run the score up on them. Yep. He did it anyway.
They get in victory formation.
Right. And what happened was Arthur Smith, the coach, blacked out at the end of the game. And, Dennis Allen said, I didn't say anything. So anyway, he was all emotional, whatever. So Arthur Blank comes out and the owner comes out in the press conference, right? I'm just taking bits and pieces. He says, well, by the way, I want to respond to reports. Arthur Smith never lost the locker room. Really? So, you know what's funny? I want to respond to that. It's funny that none of the players came out and said anything when Arthur Smith was out there complaining about how New Orleans ran up the score. Not one player came up and spoke up for him. Oh, we love Arthur Smith. Really?
Sure.
Yeah. Arthur Smith, and I don't, and the reason why they said they hired him was because the Titans had, as a coordinator, his record was impeccable. He had the #1 red zone offense for the Tennessee Titans. I'm sorry. So this was like 3 or 4 years ago. This is probably around the time when Patrick Mahomes and the offense was lighting things up. Wasn't Erick Bieniemy part of that offensive coordinator and calling? So you decided to go with the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator rather than a Super Bowl winning, playoff consuming, AFC championship repeatedly offensive coordinator Erick Bieniemy.
You've been saying this for years.
You thought that was the better option than Erick Bieniemy. Really now? Interesting. So then he says, and you're going to love this. He says also in the press conference, when I bought the team, Mr. Rooney, who's now Bass, told me, you got to take your time, the process. He said, now when he did that, when he bought the team, he said at the time, they were hiring Mike Tomlin. Interesting. So they were hiring Mike Tomlin. I'm going to say that again. They were hiring Mike Tomlin. They took their time. Now, I know it doesn't look good for Tomlin right now in a greater situation, even though he made the playoffs and the Falcons ain't made it in 5 years, right? And I'm not saying he made great coaching hirings, but look at who you choosing. Look at who you choosing.
Horrid.
You were choosing why would you choose Arthur Smith? This guy was not. It's not that he's a bad coach. I didn't think he was the guy for the job. He had Matt Ryan. That didn't work. Then he brought in Marcus Mariota. That didn't work. Then he said, we're going to roll with Desmond Ridder. And because he auditioned for the last 4 games of the season last year, he said, we're going to put him out here, which that's another thing. I think that was the Falcons' problem. Now, they're making all excuses, right? Let me tell you what the problem is. They're making excuses. They're saying, Desmond Ridder, we gave him his shot for the 1 year. This was his chance. The kid just got there. He's not C.J. Stroud. You know why he's not C.J. Stroud? Because DeMeco Ryans, who you probably had a chance to hire, you didn't want to hire him. Look what he's doing. He had a great defense, and he had a system that was going to help this kid. So not only does he have a defense, there's nothing that's more helpful to a rookie quarterback than a great defense and a support system. Arthur Smith was not that guy. He had 3 quarterbacks in 3 years. At some point, you can't keep moving the players. It has to be the coach, right? 3 quarterbacks, and you the only one that ain't moving. So clearly it's you. Then you're going to laugh at this. In a press conference, they asked him, well, now do you regret not going after Deshaun Watson? He says,
oh boy.
He says, and I quote, well, we looked at Deshaun Watson and we saw things and we didn't really want to jump in and we watched from a distance. He said, well, they come back around later after he's given all these other excuses, which we will deal with this. There's a lot I got in here that we ain't dealing with right now. But I'm giving you the short version. He says, they can circle back around after they keep talking. They said, what about Deshaun Watson? They said, what about Lamar Jackson? How'd you feel about that?
Jesus.
They said, well, and then they brought up something. Now, you're going to love this. You've been a Steelers fan for a long time, right? Rich McKay, who's the president of the team, says, I never forgot when I was in Tampa. We was going to do the whole press conference. We was going to get Neil O'Donnell. He said,
my Neil O'Donnell.
Mind you, he said, we had a press conference ready for the next day. We were going to get him. We had a tenure. He agreed to everything. He said, we looked up and he was making a deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He said that's why they didn't take the chance with Lamar Jackson, because they kind of were looking to see what was going to go on. Let me tell you something about the reports. The Ravens were going to let go Lamar Jackson go, but you were going to give up your whole team. You're going to give up all 3 #1 draft picks for the next 3 years. So if you had #1 draft picks for 3 years, you're going to give it all up, right? And he said with him and Watson, they didn't want to be in salary cap hell. So they said now moving forward, because they let go of Matt Ryan and they went through these past 2 bad years, they now have the money to now pick up team players to be successful.
Who's left?
I don't know. So they're gonna either draft somebody. I don't know who's even a free agent quarterback. Do you know anybody that's coming out of that draft?
They're talking about trading that draft pick to Chicago.
Who, Atlanta? What, for Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go again.
It's a good
thing.
Play.
But who's the coach? Let me tell you.
I'm just saying they said trade that number 8 pick.
Can I give you some names? We had Bijan Robinson, we had Tyler Algier, we had Kyle Pitts, and we had Drake London. That's 4 weapons. Most teams don't even got that. And we still couldn't do anything. You had Mariota, who was a vet, and you went 7-10. We had even a more iller running game back then. Mm-hmm. Then you came in with Desmond Ridder, and you still couldn't do it. And Tyler Heineke came in. Matter of fact, 4 quarterbacks. So you had Taylor Heineke that came in at one point because they didn't think Ridder was kind of playing good, which it wasn't Ridder. Ridder's not a bad quarterback. Atlanta has 2 options. They can either just get behind Ridder and say, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that you succeed, or they're going to go around the merry-go-round again. But whoever they bring in, they got to stick with a guy. You have went through 4 quarterbacks in 3 years. At some point, you got to look at yourself. And I do blame Terry Fontenot. They said they're going to keep him for now. Good luck with that, because I don't know what coach you're going to bring in here that's going to be like, well, I'm okay with just having Terry Fontenot. Jim Harbaugh ain't going to tolerate that. I can tell you right now, Belichick ain't going to tolerate it.
Nope.
And what the hell was they thinking going to try to have Belichick? Really? You going to hire that guy?
I saw that.
You think Bijan and them are going to want to sit there and go play for a guy like that? They're not going to deal with that Patriot way mess. Ain't nobody going to babysit that. How many times have people tried that Patriot way somewhere else and it done made sense? Didn't the Raiders try it? Didn't work out, did it? Didn't Denver try it? They still trying to rebound from that. Didn't Detroit try it? It took them years after Patricia left. Right? Cleveland with Romeo Crennel. You want me to keep going? Yeah. Joe Judge with the Giants. They're still trying to rebound from that. So don't do it. So, Harbaugh is a good look. If he wants to rock with the GM, rock with him. And let me tell you why. Don't piss him. Don't go at him and say, well, it's our team and we don't want to give you that control. The 49ers did that to him. Did you see what happened after he left? 3-13, 2-14. It was so bad and dismal. They was crying for somebody to take that job.
So for the Falcons, you're pretty much saying it's time to get ready to coach.
No, they got rid of the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're going to have to – they need – Arthur Blank at this point, you're going to have to bring in a guy that knows what they're doing and knows how to win. Mm-hmm. So you might as well just rock with Harbaugh. Okay. Just rock with Harbaugh. Who you going to else you going to get, man? You don't went out and got Dan Quinn who –
So you just answered your question when you said what coach. So you said rock with Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I've been hearing reports that they want to flip that number 8 pick. Because who's the quarterback coming out?
Caleb, the dude from USC is coming out. I think Bo Nix is coming out, but there's nobody that I'm looking at that's like.
Come on, Ed. You don't think Bo Nix?
I don't care about no damn Bo Nix. That's because of that offensive line.
All right. What about Caleb? You don't see no quarterback that you don't like in that draft.
I don't feel like going through another rebuild. I just don't. I just don't. I mean, what are you gonna do, man? Go get Justin Fields.
Okay.
He's clear evident a good quarterback. He had whatever that dude's name is that went back to Kansas City. You see how their offense don't look the same no more.
So if they get Justin Fields,
or just get behind Ridder. But you need to know, the people shaking their head, but at the end of the day, you can't keep blaming Desmond Ridder. You can't keep blaming Taylor Heineke. They got all the weapons. This kid Ridder, it was his first year. I don't want to hear he did 4 games last year. Come on, man. You thought what? You know what it is? Because they see C.J. Stroud over there. Okay. But what they forget is that other kid over there in Carolina, because he ain't doing too well. But it's just growing pains. It is what it is. Trevor Lawrence didn't do great neither. Peyton Manning went 3-13 his first year. Eli Manning went 6-10 his first year. See, they forget about all that. Roethlisberger, yes, he won a Super Bowl. That team was already built. I mean, I could have played back there and handed the ball off to Willie Parker. Who couldn't have did that? I'm just making a point of saying that at the end of the day, you either stick with the decisions you made. Let's see what Ritter can do. You put Dak Prescott in there, I can assure you, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson all have 1,000 yards or more.
Might see it. You might see it. So now we're leaving NFL land and we coming. You want to finish with U Albany?
Oh, yes.
So let's close out.
We should have went back to that when we was doing the best. We got so caught up in what the HBCUs were doing. Yeah. Which was goofy.
Let's close out talking about the school we primarily cover and the American East.
I wanna you wanna go or I wanna talk about the U Albany women's basketball team. So right now I think they're 14-2, if I'm not mistaken. At press time right now, when this clip goes up, they're gonna be playing UMass Lowell tomorrow. Which is not gonna be easy bout because even though UMass Lowell's 3-13, they're 3-1 in the conference. It's ever since they started conference play, they look like a totally different team. Like they come in to fight. You know what I'm saying? Some teams, I don't know what it is. Like it's like I don't know. They looked winless in non-conference play, and it's kind of like they was looking to prepping to come in this conference and like, oh, we're gonna start molly-whopping teams. I don't think they get what's about to happen. But for U Albany women, Coach Mullen once again, with the way everything ended last season with Vermont, and I think, and I don't want to throw shade. It's not throwing shade. I think that when some of the players last year, when they defeated Maine, we were there. It kind of was like a playoff type championship atmosphere. It just looked like they was relieved that they beat Maine.
Okay.
I think they put all their eggs into that because when they got to Vermont, they were playing flat, dog. And I don't think it was because they wasn't giving 1,000%. I just think that to them, Maine was their championship game. I don't think they saw Vermont coming. I don't think they saw Vermont for it. I think they felt like being that they beat Maine, they should beat Vermont. They went in there with a surprise. What I am shocked about is that I thought they were going to run it back because, you know, once you get that taste of being there and then you come back again and you're almost there, Grace Heaps didn't return. Morgan Haney didn't return. Elaine Hane and Lucia Dakotas. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. They both graduated, so their eligibility was done. Yeah. But I was surprised that Haney and Heaps didn't come back.
The other player, she was a sophomore.
Coy Sims, you talking about?
No.
Oh,
I forget her name.
Freya Worth didn't return. So it looked like it was like they might not be the same team that they was going to be before. I know Coach Mullen, though, she always figures it out. Coach Mullen has since day one, since she's got in there, has figured it out, has built a winning culture. And I'm kind of confident in saying that even with the players leaving, I was pretty confident that, as she would always say, I'm going to be in the top, she's aiming to be in the top 4. But they're past the top 4. They're in the top. And that was non-conference play. And in conference play, the ball kept going. So this year, Hangerstrine has returned. Kayla Cooper being who she is, no words ever need to be said about Kayla. We know what Kayla is. She's just, you can't stop that. It's like Durant. It's like when Durant's on the court, you just know what Durant's going to do. Even on a bad day, Durant's good, right? Kayla's that type of player. She's just going to do what she's going to do. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop it, right? You have her. You have Herder, who came this year.
It's shooting the leather off the basketball.
Yeah. And there's one more girl, and I swear, please forgive me. I can't remember your name right now at this moment. I will say it in the next podcast. She's there. She came from another program. I forgot her name. You also got Lily Phillips, but who's sticking out to me specifically is Deja Evans. Okay, she's sticking out, and I mean, my God, I mean the girl, young girl. She's a freshman, if I'm not mistaken. The girl just got there.
That game that she had 25 or 27 and 17
Even
rebounds.
When she's not scoring, she's dominating. She just looked like she just do what she want to do. Yeah. So now you got her. There's times where I've seen Coach Mullen put her and Kayla in the lineup, and there's nothing you can do. Even defensive-wise, you don't want to go in there. And when you're on the other end, you really don't want to be bothered trying to stop those two. Deja, the scary thing about Deja, and I know people always say this, she's just scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even seen Deja at her highest level. She just got there, and she's already just making things look like it is what it is. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why all of them are part of that success. But Deja is an integral part, and I didn't think that this early you never see them, come in and make the impact it did. She's a very big impact. And Salute, I don't know what's going on. We're not going to talk about that, but there was some challenges coming to the season that Coach Mullen was facing. And salute to her because she somehow has gotten past it and kept that team afloat and kept that team winning and kept that team focused. And I don't think she gets enough credibility for that because most coaches under pressure would have cracked and most programs would have fell apart. And she seemed to have kept it intact. So salute to her for that. That's what I wanted to say about the women.
Definitely. What I would say is, barring injury,
Mm-hmm.
you never hope people get in a conference play and injuries start happening. Barring injury, because they ran up their record. They're 14-2 in the way they work in conference play.
Yeah.
They keep separating themselves from the pack.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far ahead.
Right.
But I don't see nobody catching them if they keep separating themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
You beat Maine in conference play. If you beat Maine in conference play and UMass so well, nobody's going to catch your record.
Yeah.
Now you're at home court the entire conference play tournament.
It's not the fact that they're winning, it's the way they're winning.
Yeah.
They're winning to like prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and I'm not saying that that's what they're doing, but they're winning, and it's like no, we're not doing no game winning shot. They ain't gonna be no. We're playing to the last second. They are swinging and punching, and they are like, yo, you're not gonna do it.
Let me add one more person. You said Deja Evans stuck out.
Yeah.
What's the point guard's name? I don't have the roster in front
Phillips?
of me.
You talking about Lily Phillips?
No. Sarah.
That's the one. That's yes. Let me look at it right now. I think that's the one I got her. I can't believe I forgot her name.
Sarah Carpel.
Yes, that's it.
That she sticks out to me as pretty much a floor general.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody where it doesn't have to be flashy. I'm gonna control the tempo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna control the tempo of the game, no matter if we're up or we're down.
Mm-hmm.
The play I saw as a point guard, very disciplined. That's gonna bode well in conference play. To have a disciplined point guard that's not too flashy, that's not looking to chuck 3-pointers, but looking to set the table up for our other players. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think as far as you Albany women, I expect to see them in the championship game. I'm not gonna jinx it or anything, but let's just say I expect to see them in the championship game. I don't see. I mean, there's Maine is very challenging. UMass Lowell show we're gonna see tomorrow with UMass Lowell. I think that's gonna be a showcase because UMass Lowell is they don't came in and started swinging like I know our non-conference don't look good, but when it comes to us on the block with the rest of y'all, we can fight right along with you. So we're gonna kind of see with them how that's gonna be. But I with you Albany women, my expectations of where they're gonna go, I think they'll be playing on Friday night. And with the way, like you said, it's going, barring injury, it'll be in Broadview Arena. I'm pretty sure Maine's going to have something to say about that. And I'm pretty sure UMass Lowell's going to have something to say about that. And I'm pretty sure Vermont, who won last year, is going to have something to say about that. But as of right now, with the way it's looking, it looks like Albany is going to be there in that championship game.
All right. So we're going to finish off with Albany's men.
Yes.
That'd be the last sports topic before we close this out.
Okay.
So we talked about the women, Albany's women. Going into Albany's men, they've already exceeded expectations.
Facts.
Last year they finished off 8-20 something. They only won 8 games last year, including conference play.
Yeah. And they didn't even did they make the tournament?
Didn't.
They didn't even make the
8
tournament.
games.
Yeah. Yeah, their conference record was bad. It was really bad.
So they won 8 games last year. Off season happened, a bunch of people transfer out. It was looking like it was about to be pretty much a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
So people didn't know what to expect from Albany and the American East. They struck gold, man.
Yo.
And I'm not just saying that for their jersey colors because they wear the gold colors, and I think they're wearing gold tomorrow versus UMass Lowell. Whoever recruited Sebastian from Rhode Island, I think his name is Ryan, and whoever recruited, I want to say the kid played at Hofstra.
Yeah.
Let me get his name correct because I don't want to mispronounce his name. Give me 1 second. Whoever recruited Amari Marshall, because I think he transferred from Hofstra, and Sebastian Thomas. My God, that was like you hit those recruitments out the park.
Yeah.
They're looking like, and again, I'm not going to highlight just two players. It's the whole team. The whole team is bad.
Yeah.
But I just pointed that out because those two came in. They got a lot of transfer students, but those two in particular are sticking out as the baddest backcourt in the American East.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Because with men's, I know with the men's, you're more upfront with your eyes with them. What is that guard still there? Remember he was talking about, Killings was talking about in one of the press conferences when they were going through it. He was like, "Yo," he's like, "I need players that got the determination that this guard had." I mean, he said that one of the guards was trying to get into the gym to play.
Yeah.
And what was his name?
He's a sophomore. He's from here. He's from the Capital.
He's still on the team. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
His name is Marcus Jackson.
Okay.
He knocked down, if you watch the game, he knocked down 3 threes last game.
Okay.
He was the one grabbing all the rebounds as a 6'2" guard, jumping over people, putting his body on the line.
Right.
Marcus Jackson is a dog, man.
Can I ask you something? Some of the players that's not here anymore, do you think that maybe that was the problem? Because Killings had made that clear. He made that clear last year in the press conferences when he was going through. He said, "Yo, I'm making guys in that want to be here and I have a different work ethic." He said he didn't see the work ethic.
Okay.
He wasn't seeing it.
So we're just media. I don't know these guys personally.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the behind the scenes story. When we started our podcast last year, my expectations was for them to be in the top 5 of the conference.
Okay.
What people didn't see is when they came in, literally the first game, Justin Neely's knee got tore up.
Right. Correct.
That was supposed to be a big contributor because if you saw him play his freshman year, you knew what he was coming back to do.
Right.
They was going to pair him with Jonathan Beagle.
Okay.
It was going to be crazy down there.
Right.
He gets tore up. So you kind of got to tweak your offense. Then other players got injured. Then there was some inconsistency off the bench.
Yeah.
Their problem last year was they couldn't get a foothold because players kept getting injured every other game. Even Marcus Jackson was out a few games with his shoulder. I think he dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah.
We saw that. Then they're not even in their gym. They're playing in Hudson Valley. I'm not saying they would have made the tournament, but they would have won a lot more games had they would have not suffered injuries. So to me, there was an injury problem last year.
Okay. Got you.
Now, I'm not saying some of the players maybe X, Y, and Z. I don't know because I don't talk to them guys on social media, you know, outside of posting highlights, you know.
Correct.
So I don't know any of the behind-the-scenes story. But to me, it was they got the injury bug. That happens sometimes.
Right.
And I saw a whole bunch of people writing them off. They come back, they're 10-7, and now they're rolling. Now they're in the top 4. They're a top 4 team in the conference.
Okay.
Now Sebastian is dropping 30 points whenever he wants to. Amari Marshall is dunking on cats. The problem people are going to have facing you Albany men is who do you game plan for? You can't game plan for one specific player. You might think, oh, hey, this is the game. We're going to take Jonathan Beagle out. That's what they did last game. Jonathan Beagle had 1 point. Okay, who's stopping Sebastian?
Nobody.
Okay, we'll figure out how to do a zone or a boxing one to stop the point guard, Sebastian. Well, who's going to stop Amari Marshall? Then there's games where Tylen Bertram, He's their three-point shooter. He's going to get hot. There's going to be a game we're going to see he's going to be 6 of 8 from three-point land. Mm-hmm. I see them being a dark horse in this conference and upsetting cats that we might think that's going to win. Now, I'm not going as far as say it's Vermont. They're going to be a dark horse like the Indiana Pacers are going to be. We'll talk about the Indiana Pacers some other time. Albany's going to be a dark horse because they have too many pieces that can go for 20 to 30 points on that team. Not one, not two. They got at least 4 players that can go for high 20-point games. Those teams are dangerous, and they're getting it done defensively. Mm-hmm. That kid Munir, when he was grabbing rebounds, I think he had 13 rebounds last game, mm-hmm. and he had a key tie-up before the half. The way they recruited in the offseason, they really trusted the coach to bring those players in, and what they're doing is working. So shout out to the whole coaching staff. I want to shout out Coach Killings, but I want to shout out all his coaches because whatever they did in the offseason, the players brought in, and it's showing. Mm-hmm. Salute to you, Albany men. Like I said, I'm not going to make any predictions right now. I got to see 1 or 2 more conference games before I get my bold prediction. Mm-hmm. But they're going to be a dark horse. Somebody's going to get upsetted by you Albany's men. Maybe not an upset. It's
American East, yeah.
I'm sorry, what did I just say?
Somebody's going to get upset.
Yeah, somebody's going to get upset in the American East. And it might not be upset. It might just be a beat down.
Right.
That's what I wanted to say.
I want to say on this end, too, 2 things. Hang a shrine. That's what I didn't bring up in that last segment. I do want to bring up. Did I bring up Hang a Shrine?
Yeah.
I did? Okay. So my apologies. I thought I didn't. Second, I think I would, 2 things. I would like to see Killings succeed always, right? Mm-hmm. From day one, we've seen him come in. We know what he's been through. So, to see him at this point being successful and his vision coming to light is a great thing. I think also for the fan base, I remember there was a time where hosting a home playoff game during American East Conference tournament time was normal. Somewhere along the line, that stopped happening. And it was before Killings got there. So I would just like to see the fan base enjoy a playoff game and the expectations be hopefully the way it ends this season. You get mm-hmm. what I'm saying? With them hosting maybe more than 1 playoff game. You get what I'm saying? So I want to see.
That's why I said a dark horse.
Yeah, I think I would love at least them see 1 playoff game. That would be an accomplishment just alone. But I know with Killings, his vision is to go way past that. But like I said, that's what I would like to see.
Definitely.
Can we? I know that was it. Or did you have something to say?
That's it on my end.
I just wanted to real quick, man, because I know we had almost out of time. I wanted to say, dedicate this one to my grandmother, Wilma Jones. She passed away, unfortunately. And our other cousin Jamar, he passed away also. For any people that don't know, we've been going through a lot, so we ain't really been around even covering, doing a lot of things. But for 2023, going into 2024. There were some difficult times, and we're not going to really elaborate on it. We just dealt with a lot, and, even the last episode was, my man G, and I'm still hurting from that. So to see my grandmother, who was one of the only other people that had my back, your parents, my grandmother was like my mother, so she loved me unconditionally. So, that's, you're dealing with a lot. And I think people don't ever really talk about it. They don't see it, and we've never really shared about it. So just everything we've been going through, that's, your family too. You know what I'm saying? So you've been going through it. So I just want to say thank you to you for being there. You know what I'm saying? But, and, we had to put this on pause. There's things that, I know they say keep pushing you, but, they say push through it. But it just sometimes, man, you just got to stop. You know what I mean? You just got to stop.
Yeah, so when basically all this happened right around the time we released our last podcast, literally 2 days before my birthday. My birthday's November 25th. My cousin gives me a call, and he gives me the spill what's going on. I immediately tell him, we stopping everything.
Yeah, facts.
I don't care about no basketball game. I don't care about no podcast, because to me, family is everything.
Yeah.
You know, I love what we do in our spare time, which is what we're doing in media, building a media empire. But when it comes to family, all that stops with family. So that's why we haven't put out any podcasts. We weren't being inconsistent just to be inconsistent. You know, I watched my cousin have to pretty much do something very hard that a lot of people don't want to have to deal with, especially around the holiday seasons.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that, you know. And to see him go through that, like, I just wanted to make sure for those of us that could surround him, put our arms around him and be there for him, that we just dedicated our time to be there for him, because he didn't need to go through that alone. So, you know, like I told you before, you know, I'm proud of you, because that was something very, I know, like the average person would have folded, and you had to fill in the gaps where other people should have filled in, you know, so you stood strong through that. And, you know, your cousins outside of me, like Rob and everybody, we really tried to be there for you the best way we could. Yeah. So for that, man, I hope, you know, your grandmother, my aunt, because that's my aunt. His grandmother is my aunt. Is smiling down on the great work that her grandson did, and to the very end, literally into the very end. And I'm not going to get into that, but into the very end, he pretty much stood by her side, man. So definitely, we love you, Aunt Wilma Jones, and thank you for all the memories you provided us. You know, I'll never forget those fish dinners that you cooked up from Uncle Rob, man. And more importantly, thank you for pretty much raising somebody very close to me, your grandson, my cousin, and doing a hell of a job. As I said, you know, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You know, I hope you're in paradise resting right now.
Yeah, facts.
And last, you know, I want to give a shout out to, not a shout out, but I want to send my condolences to our other family, because right after we were finishing grieving, we got a phone call that another one of our family members had passed away. So I want to send a sincere condolences to Jill Jones, which is our cousin's mother, Kareem Jones, Elijah Jones, and Michaela Jones, which is his immediate family. Our cousin passed away not too long ago, and we just had to put him to rest. And that was tough to see, because he was full of life. Every time I saw my cousin Jamar, he was always smiling. I remember talking to him, and he was telling me a while ago about him traveling, going to Portugal, and just the trips that he was doing. Very solid individual. Dude had a smile that would light up the universe, and it was tough to see that go, man. So I definitely want to send my heartfelt condolences to his immediate family. You know, I'm here. That was a tough one, man. Yeah, tough times, man.
Facts.
Tough time. I don't even have the words to. You know, that was a tough 2 months, man.
Yeah. I was starting to get numb. Like after a while, like you just start like spacing out. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you there, you do everything you're supposed to be doing, but you just, you know, the pain. You know what I mean? So, you know.
And I'll say this, man. It just taught me that, you know, while you have your family here, whether they're immediate or whether they're distant, man, if you're on good terms with them, create memories, because you never know when it's going to be the last one. Yeah. And like I said about my Aunt Wilma, a memory I have from my cousin Jamar, and it's probably one of the best memories I have from Cuz. His father, which is my cousin, was still alive at the time. So I want to say this was 2016, around the holiday season. Their family, you know, my cousin Willie, which is his father, and them rented out a house, Airbnb, the house out in Saratoga. So this is probably around Thanksgiving. And we all just came together in that house as cousins, you know, cousins from down south, them, their girlfriends, you know. Everybody just came together in that house in Saratoga, and we was just laughing that night, joking. Cousin Willie was there just talking his ish. We was watching football. The football games was on.
Okay. Yeah.
Had the grill on, and, you know, Cuz hooked up the best macaroni and cheese that I ever ate in my damn life. So, yo, Cuz, you know, I know you up in heaven, but real talk, man, that was the best macaroni and cheese I ever ate in my life. and that time that we were all in that Airbnb in Saratoga with you, Ajuan, Willie, all your brothers, me, you know, Cuz wife, everybody. It was probably one of the best memories I have of all of us together as a family, just laughing, kicking, and just being amongst each other. So like I said, if you still have your family amongst you and y'all not beefing, just create those memories and enjoy them while you got them.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's it, man.
All right.
Long episode 24, but we thank you guys for rocking with us.
Facts.
We got a lot coming this year. You know, knock on some wood.
Yeah, facts.
Appreciate whether you're 1 viewer or 1,000 viewer. You're watching the Enveonline podcast, and we're tuning out. God bless.
1.